Chapter 2982. When it sensed the immortal root, the eye blazed with murderous intent, as if it would send down heavenly punishment at any moment to obliterate Ling Xiao. However, the dazzling rain of light flowed and gathered at the center of Ling Xiao's brow, where it began to emit resplendent light. The god race mark in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness seemed to have sensed the rain of light and emitted a powerful devouring force, swallowing all the light rain. There seemed to be a small sun blooming at the center of Ling Xiao's brow, giving him a divine glow. The eye hesitated for a moment, then finally released a beam of light and shot directly at the immortal root within Ling Xiao's body. Bang! A soft sound rang out, and the immortal root actually crumbled. The immortal light within Ling Xiao's body seemed to be expelled by some kind of power. Finally, the light from the divine clan seal flowed through his entire body, causing him to exude an incomparably vast and pure divine aura. But Ling Xiao didn't notice any of this. He was so immersed in his comprehension of the great Tao that he didn't realize he'd just taken a trip to the gates of hell. The center of the immortal world was vast and boundless, the territory of the eternal immortal dynasty. Among the majestic palaces of the eternal immortal dynasty, there was one that emitted dazzling immortal light. Inside the immortal palace, a heroic figure opened his eyes. His eyes were burning with immortal light, sharp and arrogant. It was a young man clad in purple armor. He looked extraordinarily handsome, his purple hair dancing in the wind. His entire body radiated powerful energy waves. His blood and chi surged to the heavens, and his physical body was terrifyingly strong. Even the void around him trembled slightly. Most importantly, his body exuded an incomparably pure divine aura. I can sense that the Hall of the Gods has opened. It seems that the 6 divine sects finally couldn't resist opening the Hall of the Gods. They want to obtain the last vestiges of the divine race. But I'm afraid they've never imagined that I'm their so-called son of God. The young man muttered to himself. His eyes blazed with a dazzling light, as if they could pierce through the void and peer into the depths of the endless chaos, into the ancient and eternal divine palace. Your Highness great-grandson, you're right. According to our reports, the 6 divine sects have indeed opened the Hall of the Gods and escorted 12 genius disciples into the Hall of the Gods. An old man with white hair and beard spoke slowly to the young man. His eyes were cloudy, but there was a faint light in them. Very well. Let's go. This time, I'll obtain the last vestiges of the divine race and destroy the hopes of the 6 divine sects. After all, there's no longer a need for the divine race. The young man's voice. Your Highness great-grandson, do you plan to kill all of the 12 god race geniuses? The old man asked. They're worthless lives. There is no need for me to do anything. There will naturally be people who will do it during the Immortal Demon Conference. They should be grateful for my mercy. Great-great-grandson. Elend's Highness great-grandson. He took a step forward, causing the void to tremble. His silhouette turned illusory and instantly vanished from the immortal palace. Your Highness great-grandson, seeing your current appearance, I'm afraid the Crown Prince would be very happy in the underworld. But you're still too young. Only by obtaining the good fortune of the Hall of the Gods will you have a chance to compete with that person. The old man sighed softly. He seemed to have thought of an extremely terrifying person, and his eyes became extremely solemn. He shook his head and also took a step forward. He disappeared from the immortal palace and followed the great-grandson. Ancient God Cult. The ancient god world was the core of the ancient god cult. The ancient god world was vast and boundless, and there were billions of living beings. They were all descendants of the divine race, and they lived and thrived there. In the center of the ancient god world, there was a towering mountain. A figure sat cross-legged on the peak of the mountain. It looked like it had become a stone statue, and it had been sitting there for countless years. At that moment, it seemed to have sensed a strange aura. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, and cracks appeared around the figure. Then, sharp and domineering sword chi burst forth. It was vast and mighty, as if a terrifying storm had swept across the world. He slowly opened his eyes. His gaze was like 2 divine swords that had been unsheathed, deep, wise, and majestic. Has the Hall of the Gods opened? Looks like the Eternal Emperor Road is about to open. The plan can also be activated. The figure whispered to himself. When he spoke, it was as if his words were the law. All kinds of mysterious and unfathomable scenes appeared around him, causing the surrounding void to shake violently and rumble violently. That Lei Ling, could he really be the Son of God? There was a trace of doubt in his eyes, as if he did not understand. But it doesn't matter whether he is or not. After countless years of silence, 108 eras have passed. The divine race is coming home. The traitor should be punished, but where is the person hiding behind the scenes? The figure muttered to himself. Rumble. The sword chi around him grew fiercer and fiercer, and the void around him seemed to be cut apart. Dense cracks appeared like a spiderweb. Waves of powerful emperor's aura spread out, and an invincible aura shrouded the entire ancient god world. Everyone shuddered and felt their hearts palpitate. However, that feeling disappeared in a flash, as if it was an illusion. Everyone was extremely confused, and in the end, they did not feel anything. As for the figure on top of the mountain peak, it disappeared. It was as if he had never appeared. In the Hall of the Gods, Ling Xiao did not know that because of the opening of the Hall of the Gods, the undercurrents of the immortal world had begun to surge. As Ling Xiao had expected, the 12 stone pillars contained the aura of the 12 great Tao origins. After receiving the inheritance from the 12 stone pillars, Ling Xiao's 12 sky skills had all been cultivated to the Great Circle. This was an unparalleled opportunity for Ling Xiao. Could the figures on the 12 stone pillars be the legendary 12 ancestor gods of the divine race? Ling Xiao thought to himself. In the ancient god cult, he had learned many secrets of the divine race. According to the legends of the divine race, there were 12 ancestor gods, who were also the ancestors of the divine race. It was said that their cultivation had all reached the great emperor realm. However, Ling Xiao had never thought that the power that the 12 ancestor gods had mastered was the 12 sky techniques. In that case, the wordless heavenly book seemed to be related to the divine race. In Ling Xiao's opinion, the 12 stone pillars should be the core of the divine race's inheritance. However, after countless years, the aura of the origin in the 12 stone pillars was extremely thin. It could only help Ling Xiao to improve and comprehend, but it was difficult to directly comprehend the great Tao origins. In that case, if the ancient divine race could directly comprehend the great Tao origins and break through to the imperial emperor realm through the 12 stone pillars, then how terrifying was the divine race's power? Such a terrifying divine race had ultimately declined. Even if the divine race was betrayed by the immortal race, they still had to have the capital to do so. The 12 ancestor gods and the powerful divine race were already shocking enough. The immortal race was probably even more terrifying. In Ling Xiao's heart, the immortal race was becoming more and more unfathomable. Chapter 2983. Rumble. Ling Xiao walked past the 12 stone pillars and absorbed the aura of the origin of the great path contained within them. His 12 sky techniques had also been raised to the realm of perfection. He walked with a majestic gait, and his eyes were like lightning. His body was shrouded in chaotic light, and his aura became more and more unfathomable. His cultivation did not break through. However, his foundation had become even stronger. Ling Xiao vaguely felt that the 12 sky techniques had become the source of his power, the foundation of the great Tao. Now, he just had to wait for the day when the 12 sky techniques completely transformed. If he could comprehend the 12 great Tao origins and use them to break through to the imperial emperor realm, that would be Ling Xiao's true path to Tao validation. My immortal root disappeared? Ling Xiao's expression was slightly solemn. He didn't even notice when his immortal root disappeared. Could it be that the immortal root in my body collapsed because I accepted the inheritance of the 12 great Tao origins? Ling Xiao thought to himself. This was the Hall of Gods, known as the origin of the God clan. He had accepted the inheritance of the God clan, so the immortal root in his body should have collapsed because of this. However, Ling Xiao did not notice that he had just taken a trip around the gates of hell. If it were not for the God clan mark, his soul would have completely dissipated at the 12 stone pillars. This is a little troublesome. I'm neither an immortal nor a god clan now. I'm afraid it'll be easy for others to see through me. Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile. The immortal clan had immortal roots in their bodies, and the god clan had divine bones in their bodies. Ling Xiao's immortal root had shattered, but his body had not produced any divine bones. He did not know what state he was in now. As if the space had shattered, the chaotic mist rose, and the 12 stone pillars disappeared. A powerful aura appeared in front of Ling Xiao. In the vast chaotic space, 12 terrifying statues appeared. Each of them emitted a vast great Tao origin chi as if they could tear everything apart. Chaos, fate, karma, reincarnation, yin and yang, light and darkness, nirvana. The auras of the 12 great Tao origins spread out, causing Ling Xiao's expression to change. No way! A possibility suddenly appeared in Ling Xiao's heart. Rumble! The faces of the 12 statues were still blurry, but their auras were extremely terrifying. They seemed to be the figures on the 12 stone pillars. In an instant, they erupted with extremely terrifying energy fluctuations and charged towards Ling Xiao to devour him. The power of each of the 12 statues was the same as Ling Xiao's cultivation, which was the power of an immortal venerable. However, what they unleashed was the powerful power of the origin of the Great Tao. 12 types of origin forces of the Great Tao intertwined, causing the combat strength of the 12 statues to be heaven-defying to the extreme. Even if an immortal monarch was here, he would be instantly torn into pieces. Ling Xiao had originally thought that the 12 stone pillars were good fortune, helping the people of the Shun clan to comprehend the power of the origin of the Great Path. However, from the looks of it now, it was both good fortune and a test. The test was yet to come. These 12 statues were extremely powerful. They charged towards Ling Xiao at the same time as if they could topple mountains and overturn seas. Their power was extremely terrifying. Even Ling Xiao felt an incomparably strong pressure. Let's fight. Ling Xiao's eyes were also filled with an incomparably strong fighting spirit. Since there was no way to avoid it, then let's fight. Boom! Blazing light bloomed around Ling Xiao's body. He did not hold back at all as he unleashed the power of the primordial immortal body. His physical body was invincible as he charged towards the statues. He threw out a punch that was filled with chaotic energy. It was as if 3,000 great worlds had appeared under his punch and struck across the sky. This was the peerless power of the physical body. With a punch, it could split the heavens and earth. Bang! A chaotic divine statue charged towards Ling Xiao. Its body was extremely sturdy and filled with an immortal luster. Its huge fist was like 10,000 Daos descending upon it. It was ferocious and domineering, not inferior to Ling Xiao at all. Chaos was the origin of all Daos. The chaotic divine statue represented the most powerful origin of chaos. Even though it was only at the immortal venerable realm, its combat strength was extremely terrifying. Boom! 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 In an instant, Ling Xiao and the chaotic divine statue had thrown out hundreds of punches at the same time. Each punch caused the chaotic mist around them to explode, forming all kinds of mysterious scenes. The Destiny Divine statue charged towards Ling Xiao. Its huge palm covered the sky as if it was a supreme great emperor that was going to wipe out the life of any living being. It was hard for anyone to resist. At the same time, the Karma Divine statue and the Reincarnation Divine statue also charged towards Ling Xiao. The Karma Divine statue and the Reincarnation Divine statue intertwined to form a powerful origin realm, trapping Ling Xiao in the middle. Then the other divine statues followed suit. Rumble! Ling Xiao could feel the attacks coming from all directions. It was impossible for him to defend himself. He could only use the primordial immortal body to withstand the attacks. At the same time, he unleashed his powerful combat strength to continuously destroy the divine statues. However, the divine statues were extremely sturdy. He did not know what material they were made of, but they were able to withstand Ling Xiao's fist without suffering any damage. Ling Xiao was caught in a tough battle. The combat strength of the 12 divine statues was too terrifying. Ling Xiao felt that even if a second heaven or third heaven immortal venerable expert was here, he would probably be killed by the 12 divine statues. If he wanted to deal with the 12 divine statues, he could only crush them with absolute strength. Only by destroying the 12 divine statues would he have a chance to win. Rumble. In the chaotic void, the battle lasted for a long time. Ling Xiao did not know that this was an opportunity for him. However, it was also an extremely difficult challenge. The 12 stone pillars were indeed for the divine clan to comprehend the great Tao origin. However, even for the divine clan, no one could cultivate the 12 sky skills secret techniques and comprehend the 12 great Tao origins at the same time. Therefore, most of them cultivated a sky skill secret technique and used the mysterious aura in the stone pillars to comprehend the great Tao origin. In the end, they would be tested by the divine statues and enter the Hall of Gods. Even the geniuses of the divine clan would only face 2 or 3 divine statues in the end. Someone like Ling Xiao, who had obtained the 12 sky skills secret techniques and cultivated them to the great perfection realm and finally faced the test of the 12 divine statues, was almost unheard of. The more opportunities one obtained in the beginning, the crueler the later tests would be. Therefore, it was a tragedy for Ling Xiao. The combat strength of the 12 divine statues was incomparably powerful. It made Ling Xiao feel like he was facing the 9 emperor phantoms during the tribulation. Ling Xiao fought crazily. In the end, his primordial immortal body was almost shattered. His body was a bloody mess as he fought. There were even a few times when Ling Xiao felt that death was approaching. However, in the end, he withstood it. Although Ling Xiao did not defeat the 12 divine statues and was even at a disadvantage, he persevered. Moreover, through the battle with the 12 divine statues, his comprehension of the 12 sky skills secret techniques deepened. In the end, the origin energy contained in the 12 divine statues was exhausted and the 12 divine statues disappeared. Ling Xiao lay on the ground with a bloody nose and a swollen face like a dead dog. He felt that his bones were about to fall apart. I defeated the 9 emperors of the human clan and the 12 ancestor gods. Who else is as strong as me? It seems that I am indeed the chosen one. Ling Xiao muttered to himself shamelessly. Rumble. The scene in front of him changed again. In the chaotic void, an ancient and majestic palace appeared. The Hall of Gods. Chapter 2984. Ling Xiao passed the test and came to the real Hall of Gods. In front of Ling Xiao, there was an ancient palace surrounded by chaotic light. It suppressed Wuji, eternal and immortal. The palace looked very simple and unadorned. It was mottled with the aura of endless time, as if it had existed for countless years. Ling Xiao's powerful life force surged, and the injuries he had suffered previously were instantly healed. Is this the Hall of Gods? Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Facing this ancient palace, he felt his own insignificance. However, he was still the only one here. No one else appeared. Could it be that they have not passed the test? Ling Xiao thought to himself. Ling Xiao could vaguely sense that because he had the 12 heaven arts secret technique, he had obtained the most good fortune, and the test he had experienced should also be the greatest. The others could not have been so slow. Could it be that there was an accident? Ling Xiao walked toward the palace in front of him. The ancient palace was surrounded by chaotic mist. It looked ethereal and mysterious. The 2 bronze doors were tightly shut. Ling Xiao reached out to push open the bronze doors, but he found that he could not. Rumble. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He immediately circulated the divine power in his body and activated the God Clan mark in his sea of consciousness. The God Clan mark shone brightly. Ling Xiao's boundless divine power exploded, and a majestic divine aura rose. The huge bronze doors slowly opened. A dazzling light shot out as if it led to another world. Ling Xiao pondered for a moment, then stepped in. There seemed to be blazing lightning rising. Ling Xiao felt as if he had arrived at the beginning of the world. The land was vast, and the mountains were undulating. All kinds of powerful ancient beasts were roaring and fighting each other. Towering ancient trees were everywhere, and there were all kinds of strange flowers and herbs. Sacred and immortal medicines that were rarely seen in the outside world could be seen everywhere here. A black devil ape that was thousands of feet tall was like a mountain. When it discovered Ling Xiao, a bloodthirsty look appeared in its eyes as it sent a slap down at Ling Xiao. Swoosh! Ling Xiao moved across the sky. The devil ape's palm slammed into the mountain where Ling Xiao had been standing. Immediately, the mountain was smashed to pieces before exploding. Is this the real world? Ling Xiao's expression was slightly solemn. He had never imagined that the Hall of Gods would be such a real world. Moreover, the creatures in this world were extremely powerful. Ling Xiao saw many powerful beasts from ancient times. For example, this black demonic ape was the chaotic world demonic ape of the primordial times. Clearly, this chaotic world demonic ape had already reached adulthood. Its cultivation base was comparable to the immortal high immortal realm, and its physical body was incomparably powerful. Its entire body was exuding a monstrous aura. The chaotic world demonic ape did not expect Ling Xiao, who was like an ant, to be able to dodge his slap. It immediately became furious. The chaos demonic ape roared at the sky and then pounded its chest with its fists. His entire body exuded an incomparably dangerous aura as he charged towards Ling Xiao. A bright light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. He activated the divine power around him and then punched out. Kacha! The unparalleled fist print swept across the void and instantly collided with the chaotic world demonic ape. Ling Xiao's body shook violently. He felt his arm go numb and his blood tumble. He took a few steps back before he could stabilize himself. On the other hand, the chaotic world demonic ape was sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. However, the chaotic world demonic ape had thick skin and was not injured. What a powerful chaotic world demonic ape! The strength of its physical body is probably not inferior to Zhan Chen's. Ling Xiao sighed in admiration. This chaotic world demonic ape was obviously the overlord of this mountain. Its strength was unparalleled. After being sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch, the chaotic world demonic ape immediately became furious. It roared and soared into the sky, wanting to continue attacking Ling Xiao. Swoosh! Ling Xiao did not intend to continue fighting with the chaotic world demonic ape. After testing its strength, he immediately used a teleportation secret skill and left the mountain. Although the chaotic world demonic ape was powerful, it was obviously not good at using its power, let alone comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. He could only watch helplessly as Ling Xiao turned into a bolt of lightning and disappeared before his eyes in the blink of an eye. The chaotic world demonic ape roared and smashed the surrounding towering ancient trees into dust. In the end, it had to give up and slowly returned to its own territory. Swoosh! Ling Xiao was extremely fast. He traversed the void like a bolt of lightning. At the same time, he used a secret skill to conceal his aura so that those powerful exotic beasts could not sense his existence. This world was vast and boundless. Even with Ling Xiao's powerful divine thought, he could not sense the end of it. He did not know that it was tens of millions of miles wide. Moreover, Ling Xiao was more and more shocked. This world was really like a primitive world. All kinds of primitive beasts could be seen everywhere and they were all extremely powerful. The adult primitive beast's strength had all reached the immortal realm. Along the way, Ling Xiao flew across tens of millions of miles of mountains and found thousands of primitive beasts. All of them had their own territories and were extremely powerful. Ling Xiao flew toward the center of the world. Is it the aura of Yun Shi and the others? Ling Xiao's heart suddenly jolted as he sensed the fluctuation of Yun Shi's aura. Rumble! In front of him, there seemed to be an intense battle. Ling Xiao sensed Yun Shi and Zhan Chen's aura. The two of them were together, but at this moment, they seemed to be surrounded and their auras were a little chaotic. Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he arrived at the battlefield. In front of him was a huge valley. Yun Shi and Zhan Chen were trapped in the middle by a group of poisonous snakes. Those poisonous snakes looked to be only a few feet long. They were colorful and breathed out terrifying poisonous fog. They seemed to have formed a powerful formation that enveloped Yun Shi and Zhan Chen. The poisonous fog was extremely poisonous. Ling Xiao could see that the space here seemed to be distorted. It was actually able to corrode space. Tens of thousands of poisonous snakes raised their triangular heads. It was a sight that made one's scalp tingle. These poisonous snakes seemed to have an extremely strong defense. Ling Xiao could see that when Yun Shi and Zhan Chen's attacks landed on their bodies, they were instantly reflected back. They were unable to cause any damage to the snakes. Instead, it was the poisonous fog that they breathed out that caused the greatest damage to Yun Shi and Zhan Chen. Ling Xiao could see that Yun Shi and Zhan Chen's faces were covered with an abnormal layer of black gas. They were obviously poisoned. Yun Shi, hold on. I'm coming to save you. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and he instantly charged towards those venomous snakes. Brother Lei Ling? Kill that snake king first. Otherwise, you won't be able to break through the formation of these poisonous snakes. Yun Shi also saw Ling Xiao. Instantly, her eyes were filled with incomparable joy as she shouted at Ling Xiao. Snake King? Ling Xiao's heart trembled. He instantly felt a strong sense of danger rising from behind him. Behind him, there was an extremely strange little golden snake. It spat out its tongue and had a lump of flesh on its head. Its pair of cold eyes actually revealed a human-like playfulness. Its figure flashed and actually disappeared from its original spot. In the next instant, it appeared behind Ling Xiao and directly bit towards Ling Xiao's neck. Chapter 2985. Boom. Ling Xiao's body trembled. He felt a strong sense of threat from the little golden snake. Suddenly, blazing lightning burst out, containing the terrifying power of heaven's punishment, and enveloped the little golden snake. At the same time, Ling Xiao reached out to grab the little golden snake. The little golden snake was dazzling with golden light, and it was not affected by the lightning at all. It absorbed the heaven's punishment lightning released by Ling Xiao directly. Ling Xiao grabbed the little golden snake, but he felt that it was extremely sturdy. It was as fast as lightning, and it escaped from Ling Xiao's palm in an instant. Before it escaped, it scratched Ling Xiao's hand with its sharp teeth, and a deep cut appeared. Ling Xiao felt his arm go numb, and the blood stain instantly turned colorful. An extremely strong poison instantly spread through Ling Xiao's limbs, causing his entire body to stiffen. Oh no! What a strong poison! Ling Xiao's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He never thought that the little golden snake would be able to break through his physical defenses and injure his arm so easily. Most importantly, the poison was too strong, causing Ling Xiao to feel dizzy in an instant. He had condensed the primordial immortal body, and it could be said that he was invulnerable to all poisons, but he did not expect to fall into the hands of this little snake. The little golden snake disappeared into the void, and in the next moment, it reappeared in the middle of the snakes, and it hissed. The hundreds of millions of poisonous snakes spat out colorful poisonous fog, and at the same time, they hissed and flew toward Ling Xiao. Boom! Ling Xiao's blood surged. He activated the primordial immortal body, trying to force the snake poison out of his body. At the same time, he used the heaven-devouring secret skill to try to devour the snake poison. However, although his primordial immortal body and heaven-devouring secret technique were powerful, they could only slow down the spread of the snake venom. Ling Xiao could still feel that wherever the snake venom reached, his physical body would begin to wither and his vitality would dissipate. This little golden snake has condensed the origin of poison? Ling Xiao's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The way of poison was one of the Daos in the universe. Ling Xiao did not expect this inconspicuous little snake to have condensed the origin of poison. Once the origin of poison was unleashed, even a high immortal would be poisoned to death. Ling Xiao felt dizzy, and even the scene before his eyes began to blur. This was a life-and-death crisis. The more urgent the situation was, the calmer Ling Xiao became. He activated the sky-devouring secret skill crazily. At the same time, the sky-devouring fire burned instantly. It was surrounded by seven-colored light, mysterious and unpredictable. It was a coincidence that Ling Xiao had fused his heaven-devouring fire with the power of the fire origin, causing his heaven-devouring fire to undergo some sort of transformation. When the snake venom in Ling Xiao's body sensed the sky-devouring fire, It was incomparably fearful and escaped with great intelligence. It works. Ling Zhao's spirit was greatly roused, and he immediately began to circulate the devouring fire, enveloping his entire body. Under the refinement of the heaven-devouring fire, the snake venom in his body finally began to slowly turn into nothingness. In the end, the remaining power was also devoured by the heaven-devouring secret technique. Rumble! Hundreds of millions of blazing flames suddenly burst out from Ling Zhao's body, forming a terrifying sea of fire around him. As for the densely packed poisonous snakes, they were engulfed by the endless, sky-devouring fire, and instantly turned into nothingness. Swoosh! Ling Zhao took the opportunity to quickly teleport over, arriving in front of the Yunshi Saintess and Zhan Qin. "Brother Lei Ling, you scared me to death just now. I thought you were going to die in the hands of the Snake King. The Snake King's venom is too strong. If not for Zhan Qin's divine life pill, the two of us would have died in the Snake King's hands," the Yunshi Saintess said with some lingering fear. She and Zhan Qin were trapped here, and that golden snake had devoured them. The little snake was the Snake King. The Yunshi Saintess and Zhan Qin had been bitten by the Snake King before, but Zhan Qin had the ancient Boundary Emperor pill and the Divine Life pill, which was why he was able to save the two of them. Moreover, the Snake King's venom was very precious. Every time it released its poison origin, it would be a huge burden to the Snake King. If it could release its poison origin continuously, the Yunshi Saintess and Zhan Qin would not have been able to wait for Ling Zhao to arrive. Ling Zhao could sense that the little golden snake's eyes had a tinge of fatigue. "Why are the two of you here?" Ling Zhao asked curiously. He had thought that he had passed the test first, but now it seemed like that was not the case. "We don't know what is going on either. After entering the tunnel, I saw the 12 stone pillars. After passing through the 12 stone pillars, I saw the palace. I did not expect to see a vast world after entering the palace," the Yunshi Saintess explained. "Me too." Zhan Qin nodded, his expression a little complicated. Previously, he had been defeated by Ling Zhao. Although he admitted defeat, he was still a little unconvinced. He did not expect Ling Zhao to save him this time. 12 stone pillars. When the two of you passed through the 12 stone pillars, did anything happen? Ling Zhao was slightly stunned. Nope. Although the 12 stone pillars looked ancient and there seemed to be a statue of an ancestor god on it, it was just an ordinary tunnel. The Yunshi Saintess said. "I see." Ling Zhao's eyes shone brightly. Could it be that only by obtaining the 12 Sky Skills secret skill would one trigger the opportunity and test of the 12 stone pillars? At this moment, the little golden snake seemed to be a little angry. With a hiss, the surrounding venomous snakes immediately surrounded them again. Ling Zhao had just burned a large number of venomous snakes to death. It was obvious that he had angered it. "You are courting death," Ling Zhao sneered. He had almost died at the hands of the little golden snake, and this caused a killing intent to well up in his heart. Although these venomous snakes were ferocious, they were not strong. The only scary thing about them was their poisonous fog, which was the Snake King's poison origin. Ling Zhao's sky-devouring fire could easily burn them to ashes. "Brother Lei Ling, be careful," the Yunshi Saintess said worriedly. "Lei Ling, be careful of the Snake King." Zhan Qin also reminded him. The two of them had been trapped by the venomous snake formation for a long time. Although they had consumed the Divine Life pill, they were also infected by the poisonous fog. Now that their strength was greatly reduced, they would only be a burden to Ling Zhao if they forced themselves to fight. Therefore, the two of them were healing themselves at the side, trying to recover their cultivation as soon as possible. Rumble! The raging flames burned and instantly rushed towards the venomous snakes in all directions. Moreover, the speed of the flames was extremely fast. Ling Zhao activated the devouring fire with all his might. The devouring fire emitted a mysterious seven-colored glow. That was the power of the rainbow celestial lotus fire, which had now become a part of the devouring fire. Chapter 2986. Whether it was the poisonous snakes or the surging poisonous mist, they were all turned into nothingness by the sky-devouring fire. Just like that, Ling Xiao charged straight towards the little golden snake. Hiss! The little golden snake seemed to know how powerful Ling Xiao was. Seeing how easily Ling Xiao destroyed the poisonous snake array, it immediately glared at Ling Xiao with hatred and turned to run. Swoosh! The little golden snake was like a bolt of golden lightning. Its speed was extremely fast and it could travel through the void, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. Ling Xiao guessed that the little golden snake could be so fast because it had the ability to travel through space. However, Ling Xiao had already locked onto its aura. Moreover, Ling Xiao's secret skill of teleportation had already been cultivated to perfection. In addition, Ling Xiao's secret skill of space-time had also reached perfection. Almost instantly, he caught up to the little golden snake. Freeze! Ling Xiao's voice boomed like thunder, as if his words were the law. A vast amount of time force surged, instantly enveloping the little golden snake. The little golden snake trembled and was immediately frozen in the void. Its eyes were filled with extreme fear. It had never thought that Ling Xiao would be able to control the power of time. It felt that the surrounding space-time seemed to have frozen, and it had become a fish on a chopping board. Swoosh! Ling Xiao arrived in front of it in an instant and grabbed its weak spot. Surging origin source energy intertwined and surged into the little golden snake's body, temporarily sealing its power. You're still running? Ling Xiao sneered. The little golden snake should be an untainted mutant. However, even Ling Xiao did not recognize its origin. The little golden snake could control billions of poisonous snakes. It must be the emperor of snakes and was extremely extraordinary. A trace of killing intent surged in Ling Xiao's eyes. He wanted to kill the little golden snake directly. Although the little golden snake had been struggling, it could not escape from Ling Xiao's palm. It seemed to have felt the killing intent in Ling Xiao's heart. Immediately, its body trembled and a trace of fear appeared in its eyes. It looked at Ling Xiao with a human-like pleading look in its eyes. It seemed to be begging for mercy. You're only begging for mercy now? It's too late. Didn't you want to bite me to death earlier? I'll send you to meet your companions now. Ling Xiao sneered. At the same time, he was a little surprised. This little golden snake was very extraordinary. All the beasts he had seen along the way were ignorant and did not have much intelligence. Only this little snake seemed to have quite a bit of intelligence. Even so, Ling Xiao had almost died from the snake's venom. He wanted to kill this little golden snake to vent his anger. 1. The little golden snake seemed to have understood Ling Xiao's words. Its entire body trembled, and a trace of determination appeared in its eyes. Suddenly, the tumor on its head emitted a bright light, and then a drop of golden blood flew out from it, flying towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was stunned. You want to recognize me as your master? Ling Xiao asked in surprise. That drop of golden blood was obviously the little golden snake's origin spirit blood. Handing over the origin spirit blood meant that it had to sign a contract with Ling Xiao and recognize him as its master. The little golden snake nodded repeatedly, its eyes revealing a human-like expression of flattery. It was completely terrified. It could feel that Ling Xiao really wanted to kill it, so in a moment of desperation, it chose to recognize Ling Xiao as its master in order to survive. After giving up a drop of origin spirit blood, the little golden snake was clearly dispirited, as if its vitality had been greatly damaged. Seeing how sincere you are, I'll reluctantly accept you. Ling Xiao sized up the little golden snake for a long time before finally nodding with a strange expression. A light flashed between Ling Xiao's brows, and the drop of origin spirit blood immediately merged into his primordial spirit. Suddenly, he felt a strange connection between him and the little golden snake, as if he could decide the little golden snake's life and death at any time. At the same time, a mysterious force surged into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. This is the origin of poison? Ling Xiao's entire body shook, and his eyes revealed a trace of incomparable shock. He did not expect that the little golden snake recognizing him as its master would allow his primordial spirit to comprehend a trace of the origin of poison. Although it was very weak, it was undoubtedly the origin of poison. As Ling Xiao's cultivation grew stronger, his understanding of the origin of poison deepened, and he would eventually be able to master the origin of poison. I'm rich. The origin of poison is extremely poisonous. Even if a celestial lord is infected, without a life-saving treasure, he will definitely die. If my primordial spirit comprehends the origin of poison, and then complements it with a primordial spirit attack, I might be able to directly kill a celestial lord expert. Ling Xiao thought to himself with incomparable joy. Feeling that its life and death was controlled by Ling Xiao, the little golden snake was very straightforward, and its eyes were full of flattery. However, Ling Xiao felt that although the little golden snake's intelligence was not low, it was only equivalent to a child of a few years old. It could understand Ling Xiao's words, but it could not communicate with Ling Xiao. I'll call you Xiao Jin from now on. Without my permission, you're not allowed to bite anyone. Ling Xiao said to the little golden snake. The little golden snake nodded repeatedly in agreement. Actually, even without Ling Xiao's instructions, it could not casually bite anyone. After all, its origin of poison was very precious. Under Ling Xiao's signal, Xiao Jin quickly dispersed the remaining poisonous snakes. Then, Xiao Jin obediently landed on Ling Xiao's wrist and connected its head and tail, forming a golden bracelet. Ordinary people would not be able to tell that this was a snake king that possessed the origin of poison. Brother Lei Ling, you've subdued this snake king? Yunshi Saintus looked at Xiao Jin and asked in disbelief. That's right. It's called Xiao Jin, and it will follow me from now on. Yunshi, don't be afraid. You're safe now. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Lei Ling, thank you for saving our lives. Zhan Chen's expression was complicated, but he still bowed to Ling Xiao with incomparable sincerity. You're welcome. Have you seen the others? Also, this world is so vast. Where exactly is the creation of the Hall of Gods? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Since Yunshi Saintus and Zhan Chen had arrived earlier than him, they must have known something. The others should be in this side of the world. However, danger lurks everywhere. There are ancient beasts everywhere, and they're extremely powerful. As for where they are, I'm not sure. However, I can feel that there's a mysterious force in the center of the world that's summoning me. That must be the final destination of the Hall of Gods. Zhan Chen said slowly. That's right, Brother Lei Ling. I can feel it too. Can't you feel it? Yunshi Saintus asked. No. Perhaps only those from the God tribe can feel it. After all, I'm not considered one of the God tribe. Ling Xiao laughed bitterly and said gloomily. There's no time to lose. We've already wasted a lot of time here. Let's hurry to the center of the world. Zhan Chen suggested. All right, let's go. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Bush, bush, bush. In an instant, the three of them rose into the air and moved towards the center of the world. Chapter 2987. Rumble. In the middle of the world, there was a pillar of light that pierced the heavens and the earth. It was dazzling and gave off a dazzling light. Ling Xiao saw the pillar of light from afar. At the same time, he felt an incomparably majestic energy fluctuation. There's a barrier in front of us that's blocking our way. Yunshi Saintus's eyes flashed as she saw the space in front of them tremble and distort slightly. A transparent barrier had appeared. Outside the barrier, there were many powerful ancient beasts. Their eyes were red and they were filled with desire as if they wanted to rush into the barrier. Boom, boom, boom. A few of the ancient beasts could not help but rush into the barrier and bleed profusely. However, the barrier was extremely sturdy and did not even ripple. The pillar of light that Ling Xiao saw was within the barrier. If I'm not wrong, the place of legacy of the Hall of Gods should be within this barrier. Zhan Chen's eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation. The place of legacy? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. He looked at the distorted space in front of him and the barrier that was surrounded by countless ancient beasts. He felt that it was not that simple. But how are we going to enter the barrier? There are so many ancient beasts and many of them are celestial masters. I'm afraid we can't barge in. Yunshi Saintus said slowly. If this is really the place of legacy, then the barrier is only targeted at other living beings. It should not stop us, the descendants of the deity tribe. Why don't we try to barge in? Zhang Chen suggested. Sure. When the two of you barge in, I'll cover for you. If we can barge in, we'll be fine. If not, we'll think of other ways. Ling Xiao said as he nodded. Brother Lei Ling, you have to be careful. Yun Shi Saintis said worriedly. Don't worry. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Instantly, the three of them turned into 3 dazzling bolts of lightning and rushed toward the barrier at an extremely fast speed. The ancient beasts also noticed the 3 of them instantly. Roar! The roars of beasts resounded through the heavens and the earth. The beasts seemed to be enraged as they spat out blazing beams of light that enveloped Ling Xiao and the others. At the same time, a few flying demonic beasts came straight at Ling Xiao and the other 2 with their razor-sharp claws. You guys go first. A divine light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. Instantly, the qi and blood in his body surged, erupting with terrifying energy waves. Rumble! He punched out and suddenly, a huge wave surged into the sky. Endless divine light surged toward the many primitive beasts like a tsunami. Ling Xiao stood behind the cloudy stream Saintis and Zhang Chen. Relying on his own strength, he blocked all the attacks from the beasts. Let's go! Although Yun Shi Holy Maiden and Zhang Chen were worried, they knew that this was not the time to hesitate. Gritting their teeth, they increased their speed. After they got close to the barrier trembled slightly and emitted a dazzling light. It wrapped around the 2 of them like a wave of water. Then, the 2 of them disappeared in an instant. As expected, they were able to directly enter the barrier. Swoosh! Ling Xiao blocked the attacks of countless primitive demonic beasts, but he also suffered a great backlash. He took the opportunity to fly toward the barrier, wanting to rush into it. Bang! Ling Xiao felt as if he had crashed into an incomparably hard mountain. His body was about to fall apart. It's just as I thought. Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile. Although the immortal root in his body had collapsed, he did not have the divine bone in his body. Therefore, he still could not enter the final land of inheritance. Rumble! Ling Xiao did not enter the barrier, but the primitive demonic beasts began to riot. They saw the cloudy stream Saintis and Zhang Chen enter the barrier with their own eyes. In an instant, they vented all their anger on Ling Xiao. The void trembled, and divine light surged. Powerful attacks swept across the sky like a storm, drowning Ling Xiao. Facing so many primitive demonic beasts, even Ling Xiao did not dare to fight. He instantly used a teleportation secret technique, blocking the attacks while escaping into the distance. Swoosh! Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast. In an instant, he traversed through the void and shook off most of the primitive demonic beasts. In the end, other than a black eagle that was chasing him relentlessly, the other primitive demonic beasts reluctantly gave up. After all, the land of inheritance within the barrier was the most important thing to these primitive demonic beasts. You're courting death. Ling Xiao was furious. Although the black eagle was extremely fast, its strength was not too strong. Ling Xiao threw out a punch, and an unparalleled fist print came crashing down like a mountain. The black eagle was startled. It didn't expect Ling Xiao to suddenly make a move. It immediately let out a sharp cry, wanting to escape. Boom! However, Ling Xiao's punch had already locked onto it. Vast heavenly might came crashing down, and the black eagle was blasted into a bloody mist by Ling Xiao's punch. Only then did the gloominess in Ling Xiao's heart ease slightly. Could it be that he really had no fate with the Hall of Gods? At this moment, Xiao Jin, who was on Ling Xiao's wrist, suddenly flew out and swallowed the bloody mist in the sky. Then, it flew back to Ling Xiao with satisfaction. I can't enter the final land of inheritance. Looks like I have no fate with it. However, one should not be too greedy. I have already obtained a great opportunity. Next, let's see if there are any other opportunities in this world. Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Hiss hiss. Xiao Jin suddenly flew in front of Ling Xiao. Its snake tail pointed in a direction in the distance. Its eyes were filled with desire and fear. Are you saying that there are treasures there, but it's very dangerous? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat, and he asked thoughtfully. Xiao Jin nodded excitedly. Alright, bring me there to have a look. Ling Xiao said to Xiao Jin after pondering for a moment. Xiao Jin seemed to be a little excited. It immediately turned into a golden bolt of lightning and flew into the distance. Ling Xiao leaped and followed. Xiao Jin brought Ling Xiao over a few mountains. Finally, they passed through a huge waterfall and entered a cave behind the waterfall. After passing through the winding cave, Ling Xiao realized that there was a completely different world behind the cave. His eyes suddenly opened up, and a valley appeared before him. It was like a paradise. In the valley, hundreds of flowers bloomed. There were all kinds of old vines and precious herbs everywhere. There were also a few fruit trees in the valley. The fruit trees were full of bright red fruits. Xiao Jin looked at the fruits on the fruit trees and drooled. Its eyes were filled with desire. Chapter 2988. This valley isn't simple. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, but he did not rush into the valley. He sensed that the valley was shrouded in an ancient and mysterious formation, which made his hair stand on end and gave him a sense of crisis. At the same time, in the middle of the valley, there was a thatched hut, simple and mysterious. Hiss, hiss. Although Xiao Jin did not have hands, he was gesturing with his tail, his eyes full of longing and worry. Ling Xiao understood what he meant. He was saying that there was an extremely mysterious formation in the valley that could erupt with powerful sword qi. Even Xiao Jin's tough body could not withstand it. However, the fruits on those trees were very important to Xiao Jin, and he wanted to eat them. Sword qi formation? Be careful, I'll try. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he slowly took a step forward. Boom! The scene in front of Ling Xiao changed instantly. The valley disappeared, the void distorted, and chaotic light surged around. In an instant, billions of sword qi bloomed, each of them extremely sharp and contained peerless killing intent as they fell toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao entered the space of a sword formation. Feeling the blazing killing intent around him, Ling Xiao jumped up without hesitation. A light flashed in his palm, and the immortal culling sword appeared. Clang! The immortal culling sword bloomed with peerless light, and sword qi rose. Vast sword light burst out in all directions in an instant. Rumble! A series of violent explosions sounded as the immortal culling sword destroyed the sword qi that surged in all directions. However, Ling Xiao's expression was still very grave. This was because he sensed that the sword formation was extremely terrifying. The chaos around him surged, and a formation diagram vaguely appeared. Above the formation diagram, 4 ancient swords appeared out of thin air, blooming with bright light and exuding a vast emperor's aura that seemed to be able to annihilate everything. It was an aura of great destruction, and also the ultimate killing power. Devour! The 4 ancient swords did not look real and were extremely illusory, but the power contained in them made Ling Xiao's heart palpitate. These are the 4 heavenly immortal swords. Ling Xiao's body trembled as a look of disbelief appeared in his eyes. One of the 4 illusory ancient swords exuded an extremely murderous aura, which was almost identical to the immortal culling sword in his hand. Furthermore, the 4 ancient swords were all swords of slaughter. They contained the might of an emperor, and when they intertwined with each other, the sword qi they formed was sufficient to kill a high immortal. Ling Xiao almost instantly guessed that these 4 ancient swords were the legendary 4 heavenly immortal swords. Could it be that this grand formation was set up by the Heavenspan Great Emperor? Ling Xiao thought to himself. Legend has it that the Heavenspan Great Emperor came from the Hall of Gods and left behind a message for the 6 major religions to wait for the arrival of the child of God. If that was the case, it was very likely that the Heavenspan Great Emperor had set up this formation. Just as Ling Xiao was thinking, the 4 ancient swords intertwined with a terrifying sword qi. In an instant, they transformed into 4 earth-shattering sword lights that slashed towards Ling Xiao. Great immortal culling art. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he instantly activated the great immortal culling art. At the same time, he activated the immortal culling sword. Pure murderous aura intertwined around his body as he met the 4 sword lights head-on. Boom! Ling Xiao's figure was as fast as lightning. The immortal culling sword released the might of an emperor. In an instant, it connected the heavens and the earth. The sword chi condensed as if it was real and shattered the four sword lights. Senior Heavenspan, this junior wields the immortal culling sword and possesses the fate of the divine clan. Please open the formation and help the divine clan to revive. The immortal culling sword in Ling Zhao's hand shone brightly. At the same time, he activated the divine clan mark in his sea of consciousness. His entire body was filled with the fate of the divine clan as he spoke loudly to the void. Ling Zhao had a faint premonition that the Heavenspan Great Emperor must have left behind a grand formation here for a reason. Perhaps he was waiting for the legendary child of God. Now that Ling Zhao wielded the immortal culling sword, he could be considered half a successor of the Heavenspan Great Emperor. Although he was not a member of the Divine Clan, he possessed the Divine Clan mark and wielded the fate of the Divine Clan. Perhaps he could impersonate the child of God. As soon as Ling Zhao's voice fell, the surging sword chi around him began to dissipate slowly. The four ancient swords vibrated in the void. Finally, they flew above Ling Zhao's head and circled around the immortal culling sword. Finally, they slowly dissipated. Is it really useful? Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of joy. Although they had only exchanged blows for a moment, Ling Zhao could already sense the terror of the grand formation. With Ling Zhao's current cultivation, it was impossible for him to break the formation. Even if he used all of his emperor weapons, it could only ensure that he would not die. However, he would be trapped in the grand formation. It was indeed a supreme sword formation left behind by the Heavenspan Great Emperor. These were only the imprints of the four immortal swords. If the real bodies of the four immortal swords were here, it might really be possible to kill a great emperor like in the legends. Buzz. The void in front of Ling Zhao trembled and the space of the formation dissipated. The scene in front of him returned to how it was before. It was a quiet and peaceful valley. Fortunately, I have the immortal culling sword and the deity clan seal. Otherwise, I might not be able to enter. Ling Zhao exclaimed in his heart. He could sense that the immortal culling sword was not the most important thing. The deity clan seal was the most important thing. The deity clan seal allowed Ling Zhao to possess the fate of the deity clan. He might have been mistaken by the grand formation as the son of God. The more terrifying the sword formation was, the more Ling Zhao looked forward to the things in the valley. Seeing Ling Zhao enter the valley, Xiao Jin immediately flew onto Ling Zhao's shoulder in a flash of golden light. His eyes were filled with excitement. Let's go! Looking at the impatient Xiao Jin, Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. He then walked into the valley. In the valley, hundreds of flowers bloomed. Various old vines and precious herbs could be seen everywhere. The precious herbs here had been growing for countless years. Ling Zhao recognized many extinct immortal herbs and origin sacred herbs. This valley was simply a spiritual herb garden. Just these immortal herbs and origin sacred herbs alone were a huge fortune. Ling Zhao came to the front of a few fruit trees and found that the fruits were the size of a fist. They were bright red and exuded a fragrance. They were very strange and had a majestic aura of life. What fruit is this? Ling Zhao was a little puzzled. He could not recognize the origin of these fruits. Xiao Jin rushed out like a bolt of lightning. He hugged a fruit and began to chew on it. Xiao Jin. Before Ling Zhao could stop him, he found that Xiao Jin had already swallowed the fruit. Moreover, he swallowed 3 fruits in succession before stopping. Chapter 2989. Boom. A golden flame instantly rose around Xiao Jin's body. A majestic aura of life surged and enveloped Xiao Jin in the center. Little Gold seemed to be in extreme pain. It let out a cry and looked at Ling Zhao pitifully. Who asked you to be in such a hurry? What if there's poison? Ling Zhao said in amusement. However, on second thought, Xiao Jin's body contained the essence of poison. There was probably nothing that could poison him to death. However, Ling Zhao could sense that Xiao Jin's life was not in danger. Moreover, his body seemed to be undergoing some kind of transformation. There seemed to be some kind of extremely mysterious power in that fruit that made Xiao Jin's glabella glow. It seemed to be opening up his sea of consciousness and strengthening his mental strength. A powerful spiritual fluctuation was emitted from Xiao Jin's body. Ling Xiao suddenly felt that the connection between him and Xiao Jin had become closer. "Are you my master?" A childish voice sounded in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. "Xiao Jin?" Ling Xiao was stunned. He did not expect that fruit to be so special. Not only did it increase Xiao Jin's spiritual intelligence, but it also allowed Xiao Jin to speak. Ling Xiao could sense that there was a powerful force condensing in Xiao Jin's sea of consciousness. That was his soul transforming into a primordial spirit. These primeval beasts originally had powerful physical strength or innate divine abilities. However, because they had not condensed a primordial spirit, it was very difficult for them to quickly increase their cultivation. They needed hundreds of millions of years to increase their strength. Now, after Xiao Jin ate that fruit, the shackles on his body seemed to have been broken. He was actually beginning to condense a true primordial spirit. This also meant that Xiao Jin's cultivation would soon advance by leaps and bounds. Xiao Jin's talent was the essence of poison. Now that he had condensed a primordial spirit, it would probably not be long before he became a true imperial emperor. These fruits are all priceless treasures. Ling Xiao's eyes began to shine. In the universe, there were still many primeval beasts and even primordial ferocious beasts. However, because they could not awaken their spiritual intelligence and condense a primordial spirit, their cultivation could not increase. However, there was no doubt that those primeval beasts had extremely terrifying talent. Once they awakened their spiritual intelligence and condensed a primordial spirit, the last shackles on their bodies would be broken. They would probably erupt with unimaginable potential. Who knows, Ling Xiao might be able to form a fierce beast army. "Master, these fruits are so delicious," Xiao Jin said in a childish voice. His eyes were filled with desire. Ling Xiao immediately jumped up and picked all the fruits at an extremely fast speed. Then he looked at Xiao Jin with incomparable vigilance and said, "You have already unlocked your spiritual intelligence. These fruits are useless to you. You are not allowed to eat them, understand?" Ling Xiao had plucked a total of 203 fruits from those fruit trees, enough to awaken the spiritual intelligence of 203 ferocious beasts. These were all priceless treasures. Furthermore, Ling Xiao discovered that after he plucked the fruits, the trees withered at a speed visible to the naked eye before turning into ashes. "Let's call these fruits wisdom fruits," Ling Xiao muttered to himself. Xiao Jin was somewhat disappointed, but he was soon attracted by some other rare fruits. There were many spirit fruits in this valley, and they were also incomparably precious. However, Ling Xiao recognized that most of those were spirit fruits that could increase one's cultivation. Thus, he didn't pay much attention to them. After getting Ling Xiao's approval, Xiao Jin pounced on those spirit fruits and began to eat heartily. On the other hand, Ling Xiao walked towards the thatched cottage. Could this be the former residence of the Tongtian Great Emperor? Ling Xiao guessed in his heart. This was an ordinary thatched cottage. The interior wasn't spacious. There was a bed, a table, a few chairs, and a few bookshelves. However, the bookshelves were empty. There weren't any books on them. The materials were obviously not ordinary. After so many years, they still looked very sturdy and were enshrouded in a dazzling radiance. Finally, Ling Xiao was attracted by a painting on the wall. It was an ink painting. There was a figure carrying a long sword on his back walking on the lonely land. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and he looked like a peerless swordsman. Although there were only a few strokes of the painting and the face couldn't be seen clearly, Ling Xiao could still feel a peerless sword chi rushing towards him. Clang! It was as if an incomparably swift and fierce sword chi shot out from the painting, shooting into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness with a loud bang. Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness was like the creation of heaven and earth. The swift and fierce sword chi separated the chaos, revealing an incomparably mysterious scene. That figure seemed to have come alive. The figure was lonely and desolate. His back was still facing Ling Xiao, and his voice sounded like a great bell. "Those who obtain the destiny of the divine race are the Son of God. Young man, I don't know who you are, but you've become the Son of God. You'll obtain supreme glory and good fortune, but you'll also have to bear the fate and responsibility of the divine race. I've already taken the wrong path. I can't see any hope. Even though I've already reached the pinnacle of sword Tao and glimpsed a trace of transcendence, I'm already unable to transcend. They're too strong. The divine race came from their distant homeland. They've already stayed here for far too long. So long that many have already forgotten their origins. I hope that you can lead the divine race back to their former homeland. In return, I'll give you the heavenly sword diagram. It's in the immortal demon cave. If you obtain the heavenly sword diagram, you'll be able to obtain the sword embryo I left behind. At that time, if you can fuse the immortal slaying, immortal slaughtering, immortal trapping, and immortal ending swords, you'll be able to forge a supreme sword. I'll also give you that bone. Perhaps it'll be of some help to you. Son of God, hurry up and become stronger. They are about to awaken again. The heavy and slightly desolate voice transmitted into Ling Zhao's sea of consciousness. At the same time, it contained a majestic torrent of information, recording the location of the heavenly sword diagram. In the end, the figure turned into a dazzling stream of light and disappeared without a trace. Ling Zhao came back to his senses from the strange phenomenon, and his expression became somewhat serious. This is indeed the place left behind by the heavenly sword diagram. So the heavenly sword diagram is the ultimate power that controls the four immortal swords? Ling Zhao's heart trembled. The heavenly sword diagram had indeed left behind a great gift for him. It also confirmed that he, Ling Zhao, was the Son of God. However, there was too much information left behind in the heavenly sword diagram's words, which made Ling Zhao even more confused. Had the heavenly sword diagram taken the wrong path? He was a supreme emperor who could kill great emperors. In Ling Zhao's opinion, he should be on the same level as the celestial emperor. How could such a person say that he'd taken the wrong path? And the divine race had come from a distant place. Could it be that they weren't native to this side of the world? Who were they? Were they stronger than the heavenly sword diagram if they could make the heavenly sword diagram so fearful? All these doubts made Ling Zhao feel that the immortals weren't the only reason behind the decline of the Protoss. There was also an invisible mastermind behind the scenes. Chapter 2990. The information left behind by the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor contained a lot of hidden information, which made Ling Zhao even more puzzled. When the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor entered the Hall of Gods, he had yet to become an emperor. Did he leave behind this information after he had attained his Tao? Ling Zhao guessed in his heart. Ling Zhao's heart sank when he heard that the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor was so wary of them. It seemed that there were still many secrets in this world that he did not know. Finally, Ling Zhao's gaze fell on the desk. There was a gray bone there. Ling Zhao did not pay much attention to it at first, but after hearing the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor's words, he began to take it seriously. Did the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor leave this bone behind? Ling Zhao's heart skipped a beat, and he picked up the gray bone. The gray bone looked like a stone and was incomparably sturdy. It did not give off any energy fluctuations, so it was easy to overlook. But since it was left behind by the Heavenly Grandmaster Emperor, it must be extraordinary. Ling Zhao began to activate the divine clan mark in his sea of consciousness between his eyebrows. Suddenly he was surrounded by a dazzling light, and wisps of divine clan destiny spread out. Buzz! The gray bone in his hand began to emit a dazzling light, and then it swallowed the divine clan destiny like a whale swallowing the sea. Rumble! The gray bone instantly spewed out endless light, as dazzling as a small sun. It was filled with chaotic light, and contained boundless divine essence and immortal matter. The divine light was as vast as the sea, and it enveloped Ling Zhao. The bone emitted a vast aura of the origin of chaos, mysterious and ancient. It trembled slightly and flew toward Ling Zhao's chest. This is the aura of the origin of chaos? Could this bone be the divine bone left behind by the primal chaos ancestor god? Ling Zhao's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not help but think about it. Ling Xiao had previously obtained the aura of the 12 great Tao origins from the 12 stone pillars, which allowed him to cultivate his 12 sky skills to the great perfection realm. He could feel that the origin of chaos in the chaos bone was exactly the same as the origin of chaos in the 12 stone pillars. This chaos bone must have some mysterious connection with the primal chaos ancestor god. Ling Xiao did not sense any danger, so he allowed the chaos bone to enter his chest. In the end, it became one with his bones. Boom! At Ling Xiao's chest position, it was as if there was a resplendent sun, blooming with endless light. At the same time, the bone exuded a powerful divine substance and began to surge around Ling Xiao's body, slowly transforming it. A vast amount of immortal matter was released, converging into Ling Xiao's sea of life, making his life source more and more majestic. A mysterious chaotic flame even appeared around him. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the primal chaos flames. Resplendent divine light surged around him. His entire being seemed to be undergoing some sort of transformation. It hurts. Ling Xiao felt as if all the bones and flesh in his body had been crushed, turning into the tiniest of particles. Then, they began to reassemble. His primordial spirit also seemed to have shattered into countless fragments, and then fused with the powerful essence of divinity and immortal matter, and began to truly transform into an indestructible primordial spirit. That kind of extreme pain was unbearable. Even though Ling Xiao had a strong will, he still felt as though he was hovering between life and death. Every single particle in his body was in intense pain. Swish! As if it had sensed Ling Xiao's pain, Xiao Jin flew into the thatched hut like a golden bolt of lightning. Seeing Ling Xiao's pained expression, Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with extreme anxiety. "Master, what's wrong?" Xiao Jin asked in a childish voice. It was frightened by Ling Xiao's current appearance. However, it was unable to approach Ling Xiao. The chaotic flames that surged around Ling Xiao made Xiao Jin feel extremely threatened. It was as if it would be burned to ashes in an instant if it approached the chaotic flames. Xiao Jin circled around Ling Xiao anxiously, but there was nothing it could do at all. Suddenly, Xiao Jin tilted its head in thought. Its eyes lit up, and then it flew out of the thatched hut. Swish! Xiao Jin flew back very quickly, but it brought with it a few resplendent divine herbs that radiated with a majestic presence of life. Xiao Jin tossed the immortal herbs into the primal chaos flames. Boom! The divine herbs were swept up by the chaotic flames, instantly turning into a majestic medicinal essence that was absorbed by Ling Xiao's physical body. At this moment, Ling Xiao seemed to be able to devour everything. The chaotic flames could refine everything. Any pure energy would be absorbed into Ling Xiao's body. Xiao Jin felt that after Ling Xiao devoured the essence of the divine herbs, his life aura became stronger and stronger. "It's really effective." Xiao Jin's eyes lit up. Swish! Like a hard-working bee, it flew out of the thatched hut and back again, picking the precious divine herbs and origin divine herbs in the valley. When it felt that Ling Xiao's life aura was weakening, it threw in a few divine herbs and origin divine herbs. Rumble! Just like that, Ling Xiao was like a furnace, constantly devouring all kinds of divine herbs and origin divine herbs. The aura in his body also became more and more terrifying. "Xiao Jin, you bastard! Do you really want to stuff me to death?" Ling Xiao cursed in his heart. Unfortunately, he could not speak at all. Moreover, his connection with Xiao Jin was also cut off by the chaotic flames. He could only passively devour the essence of the divine herbs. Ling Xiao was now suffering unspeakably. Originally, the chaotic bone contained an incomparably vast amount of chaotic energy. The chaotic energy was all-encompassing and was not something that ordinary people could refine. If Ling Xiao did not have the primordial immortal body, with his current cultivation, he would probably explode if he tried to refine the chaotic bone. He finally managed to refine the vast chaotic energy, but Xiao Jin kept throwing in divine herbs and origin divine herbs, causing the energy accumulated in Ling Xiao's body to become stronger and more terrifying. He was like an extremely unstable sun, as if he would explode at any time. However, Xiao Jin did not know about Ling Xiao's current situation. It kept throwing in divine herbs and origin divine herbs. Ling Xiao's heart was bleeding. Many of those divine herbs and origin divine herbs were extinct in the outside world. Their value was immeasurable. They could be refined into many precious quasi-emperor elixirs or even emperor elixirs. But now, they were all thrown to Ling Xiao by Xiao Jin and refined by the flame of chaos, becoming a part of Ling Xiao. Third Sect Master. Chapter 2991. In the end, when Ling Xiao could not hold on any longer. Finally, all the divine herbs and origin sacred herbs were used up. Seeing Xiao Jin's eyes darting around, Ling Xiao knew that it wanted to leave the valley and go somewhere else to pick the spiritual herbs. Ling Xiao panicked. "Xiao Jin, I'm fine. Don't run around." Ling Xiao suddenly unleashed the power of qi and blood around him, forming a thunderous sound. It broke through the seal of the chaotic flame and exploded in the thatched hut. Boom! Xiao Jin was shocked when the thatched hut was torn apart. However, he was no longer worried. His eyes were filled with excitement as he nodded repeatedly. After calming the little bastard down, Ling Xiao could finally refine the majestic energy. He felt that he had reached his limit. If this continued, he would really explode and die. Rumble! Ling Xiao activated the sky-devouring secret skill and continued to devour the majestic energy. At the same time, he gathered it in the chaotic bone in his chest and began to transform his physical body. After merging with the divine bone, Ling Xiao really became a divine tribe member. I clearly used Lei Ling's immortal identity to sneak into the immortal realm. Now, I actually abandoned my immortal identity and became a god? Ling Xiao did not know whether to laugh or cry. However, he knew that when he came out of seclusion, he would be able to pass through the spirit shield and enter the final legacy land. He hoped that he could make it in time. After all, the 11 genius disciples of the 6 major divine sects had probably entered the spirit shield by now. Ling Xiao was also very curious about the final land of legacy. Just like that, Ling Xiao continued to refine the energy in his body. His aura gradually calmed down. Xiao Jin also looked around vigilantly, guarding Ling Xiao. In the spirit shield, 12 stone pillars that reached the sky formed a circle. In the center was a pool with a radius of 100 feet. The pool was filled with golden divine spring water, flowing and emitting a mysterious light. Other than Ling Xiao, the other 11 geniuses of the 6 major divine sects had indeed entered the spirit shield. However, they were in a miserable state. 11 people, including the Yunshi Saintess and Zhan Chen, were all tied to the stone pillars. Their eyes were filled with shock and anger. In front of them stood a heroic young man. His face was extraordinarily handsome, arrogant, and cold. His entire body exuded a powerful aura. Behind the young man, there was an old man with white hair and beard. He was very old and his face was full of wrinkles. His eyes were very turbid and he looked very inconspicuous. However, the 11 of them knew that the old man's strength was extremely terrifying. Although there were elements of a sneak attack and he had borrowed the power of the formation, the fact that he was able to suppress the 11 of them in an instant showed how powerful the old man was. 11 people? I didn't think that there would be a fish that escaped the net and didn't come in. Can any of you tell me where the remaining person is? The young man's eyes were like lightning, blazing and eye-catching as he stared coldly at the 11 people in front of him. In your dreams, the saintess said coldly. At this moment, she was extremely worried about Ling Xiao's safety. After all, there were so many exotic beasts outside the bounded domain, and they were all extremely powerful. Could Ling Xiao really escape from the pursuit of those exotic beasts? However, they weren't any better off. The saintess had never thought that they would enter the Hall of Gods after entering the bounded domain. However, she didn't expect that there would be an uninvited guest waiting for them inside. It was the eternal celestial dynasty's great-grandson. Moreover, this His Highness great-grandson had no intention of hiding his identity. Great-grandson, why is the eternal celestial dynasty interfering in the affairs of the god tribe? What are you trying to do by capturing us? Zhan Chen asked angrily. Interfering in the affairs of the god tribe? Hee, I think the 6 great divine sects have forgotten? If not for the eternal celestial dynasty, you would have been destroyed long ago. As a dog, you should have the awareness of being a dog. Don't you think you're too naive to speak to your master like that? His Highness Great Son sneered. Great-grandson, we've already found out. The remaining person is called Lei Ling. He's from the immortal tribe, so he can't enter the bounded domain. The old man behind the great-grandson said softly, Lei Ling? Immortal tribe? Even an immortal tribe can represent the 6 great divine sects and enter the Hall of Gods. It looks like the God tribe has really declined. His Highness Great Son sneered. Great-grandson, we're still missing one person. I'm afraid we can't open the ancestor god source. What should we do now? The old man said slowly. No matter. With me, it's enough. The 12 ancestor god source can only belong to me. No one can take it away from me. When the time comes, I'll be the only ancestor god in this world and the true Son of God. Once I take control of the God tribe, I'll definitely be able to defeat my uncle with the God tribe's great potential. His Highness Great Son sneered. If that's the case, I'm afraid they'll all die. Their talents aren't bad and they're qualified to become your Highness followers. The old man said, If they die, then so be it. They should feel honored to be able to become a part of this queen. Once I become the Son of God, I'll naturally have countless followers. The great-grandson said coldly, All right, in that case, I'll prepare to activate the bounded domain. The old man nodded. Let's begin. His Highness Great-grandson said indifferently. Then he walked towards the only empty stone pillar. Great-grandson, what are you doing? Although Zhang Qin didn't hear the conversation between the great-grandson and the old man, he could still see the killing intent in the great-grandson's eyes. His expression immediately changed and he shouted coldly. What am I doing? Don't you want to obtain the greatest fortune in the Hall of Gods? Let me tell you what kind of fortune the 12 ancestor gods left behind. His Highness Great Son sneered. Rumble. At that moment, the old man's palm shone brightly, and an ancient seal suddenly appeared. It looked mysterious and unfathomable, and it flowed with a mysterious aura. The ancient seal instantly soared into the sky and floated above the 12 stone pillars, sprinkling down mysterious energy waves. The 12 stone pillars began to tremble, then released a bright light at the same time, forming a pillar of light that shot into the sky. The gods' spring in the pool in front of them seemed to be boiling. Golden light shone resplendently, and it instantly surged like a huge wave, enveloping the great-grandson, the Yunshi Saintess, and the rest of the 11 people. Rumble. The 12 stone pillars seemed to have been unsealed, and a vast amount of origin energy emanated from them. A total of 12 types of great Tao origin energy erupted. If Ling Xiao had been here, he would have definitely discovered that the ancient seal in the void was actually exactly the same as his celestial race seal. Chapter 2992. Rumble. The 12 stone pillars exuded an ancient aura, and the 12 statues seemed to have come alive. They were majestic, as if the ancestors had come back to life. The aura of the 12 great Tao origins intertwined. It was vast and mysterious, and it surged toward Yunshi Saintess, Zhang Qin, and the others. However, the presence of the origin energy did not remain in their bodies for even a moment. Instead, it destroyed their meridians in an unbridled manner and devoured their life origin energy, becoming nourishment for the sliver of origin energy. In the end, the 12 auras of the origins intertwined and surged toward His Highness Great-grandson. Ha! Awesome! This is the greatest creation left behind by the 12 ancestor gods. As long as I devour the 12 auras of the origins, not only will my cultivation improve by leaps and bounds, but I will also be able to form the strongest divine body of the God tribe. At that time, I will be in charge of the God tribe, and I will be the true Son of God. His Highness Great-grandson's eyes were filled with excitement and excitement. With the support of the God tribe seal, his aura became stronger and stronger. It was ethereal and mysterious, and he began to devour the 12 auras of the origins. As for the Yunshi Saintess, Zhan Chen and the others, their eyes were filled with despair. Are we going to die just like that? The immortal tribe is indeed ambitious. His Highness great-grandson wants to completely destroy the god tribe. Someone roared in grief and anger. I remember now. The reason why the god tribe was so strong back then was because the 12 ancestor gods of the god tribe controlled the 12 most powerful great Tao origins. His Highness great-grandson wants to steal the 12 great Tao origins left behind by the 12 ancestor gods? Damn it. These creations originally belonged to us. We are the hope of the god tribe. Who will save us? I don't want to die. I am the holy son of the god sect, the future hope of the god sect. I entered the hall of gods to fight for the son of God. I can't die here. Feeling their meridians being destroyed and their life force draining rapidly, the god tribe geniuses were filled with fear. Yunshi, it seems like we are really going to die this time. Zhan Chen laughed bitterly as he replied. Although Yunshi's face was pale, she still insisted, Senior Zhan Chen, I believe that Brother Lei Ling will definitely come to save us. Lei Ling? He was trapped outside the barrier and couldn't get in. With so many beasts outside, he couldn't even protect himself. Even if he comes in, can he be a match for His Highness great-grandson? Zhan Chen shook his head. I believe in Brother Lei Ling. He will definitely be able to do it. The Saintess of Cloudstream was very stubborn. Her heart was filled with conviction. Zhan Chen laughed bitterly and did not argue with Yunshi. From his point of view, they were already doomed this time. However, at this moment, a sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. Everyone's spirit shook. Suddenly, they saw that the barrier in the distance was somewhat distorted. Then a figure came across the sky. Like lightning, it arrived in front of them in an instant. It was an extraordinarily handsome young man. His long purple hair danced in the wind, and his temperament was extraordinary. He had a jade-like aura, and between his eyes, there was a mysterious flash of lightning. It was Lei Ling. Is it that Lei Ling? Someone was shocked and exclaimed. Lei Ling's strength is extraordinary. Even senior brother Zhan Chen is not a match for him. Maybe he can defeat His Highness great-grandson and save us? Someone said excitedly. Don't even think about it. Although he was lucky enough to defeat senior brother Zhan Chen, his cultivation is only at the immortal reverent realm. He hasn't even broken through to the immortal monarch realm. How can he be a match for His Highness great-grandson? Moreover, he's from the immortal clan. Maybe he's a spy, and he's the one who brought His Highness great-grandson here. Someone poured a bucket of cold water and sneered. At the same time, the old man who was guarding His Highness great-grandson also noticed Ling Xiao. Light flashed in his eyes, revealing a trace of killing intent. You're the traitor of the immortal clan, Lei Ling? His Highness great-grandson was receiving the inheritance of the 12 ancestor gods. He did not allow anyone to disturb him, so the old man was ready to kill Ling Xiao. He's at least a fourth heaven immortal monarch realm expert? Ling Xiao frowned slightly. The old man in front of him gave him an extremely strong pressure. At this moment, he also saw His Highness great-grandson crazily devouring the aura of the 12 origins. Everything in front of him was different from what he had imagined. He did not expect Yunshi, Zhan Chen, and the others to become someone's prisoners after entering the land of inheritance. I have to stop him. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His Highness great-grandson devouring the aura of the 12 origins was something he could not tolerate. The 12 origin qis within the 12 stone pillars were vast, majestic, and mysterious. If they all merged into Ling Xiao's body, he might really be able to make his 12 heaven skills evolve into the origin of the Great Way. This was Ling Xiao's fortune. He had to stop His Highness great-grandson. Ling Xiao waved his hand, and the profound heaven immortal monarch, who was hidden in the small world in his body, immediately appeared. The profound heaven immortal monarch was still dressed in white. Her beauty was unparalleled, and she held the profound heaven sword in her hand. Her aura was extraordinary. However, she seemed to have changed. Although her eyes were still empty, there was a trace of spirit in them. It was as if she was about to regain her intelligence. Little Gold, you and the profound heaven immortal monarch stop that old man together. Ling Xiao pointed at the old man in front of him. At the same time, he leaped up and pounced toward His Highness great-grandson. You're courting death. Murderous intent flashed in the old man's eyes. He did not expect Ling Xiao, who was just an immortal venerable, to take the initiative to attack His Highness great-grandson. Boom! A terrifying aura rose around him. An emperor's aura filled the air. In an instant, his palm traversed the void and slammed down toward Ling Xiao. As if sensing that Ling Xiao was in danger, the profound heaven immortal monarch's empty eyes instantly exploded with a peerless killing intent. Clang! The profound heaven sword soared into the sky and released a peerless sword intent. In an instant, it turned into a huge sword aura that was tens of thousands of feet long and slashed down toward the old man. At the same time, a golden light shot out from Ling Xiao's wrist and pounced silently toward the old man. It was Little Gold. Ling Xiao did not even look at the old man and continued to pounce toward His Highness great-grandson. With the help of Little Gold and the profound heaven immortal monarch, it was enough to stop the old man. Especially Little Gold's poison origin, it could be said to be able to kill without leaving a trace. Previously, Ling Xiao had almost been struck by it. If it had bitten the old man, even if he was an immortal monarch expert, he might have died instantly. Boom! Ling Xiao threw out a punch. The unparalleled fist print that contained a peerless fist intent that seemed to be able to destroy everything enveloped His Highness great-grandson. You're courting death. His Highness great-grandson suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he shouted and threw out a punch at Ling Xiao. Gotcha! The two fist prints collided in the void. In an instant, the void rumbled and the heaven and earth trembled. Unparalleled divine light swept out in all directions. Ling Xiao and His Highness the great-grandson both shuddered and retreated. Chapter 2993. Within the resplendent divine light that filled the sky, Ling Xiao and the great-grandson faced each other in the air. A trace of shock appeared in both of their eyes. Ling Xiao was shocked to discover that the crown prince in front of him wasn't a pure immortal, nor was he a pure divine. He had both an immortal root and a divine bone in his body. His immortal root and divine bone seemed to form a perfect balance in his body, allowing him to wield the power of the immortal Tao and divine Tao at the same time. His Highness Crown Prince was shocked to discover that although he and Ling Xiao had been evenly matched, he'd actually lost. Not only had he used his physical strength, but he'd also used the power of the 12 essences. Even so, he hadn't been able to defeat Ling Xiao, let alone kill him. One had to know that His Highness Crown Prince's cultivation had already reached the second heaven of the high immortal realm, and he had already condensed his source body. He called it the immortal spirit source body. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was only an immortal sovereign. The difference between them was like heaven and earth. You're Lei Ling? The traitor of the immortals? His Highness Crown Prince glared at Ling Xiao. Traitor of the immortals? I'm a divine to begin with. How can I be a traitor? Highness Crown Prince, you're the Crown Prince of the eternal immortal dynasty. You're the traitor here, aren't you? Ling Xiao sneered. Shameless. I'm the son of God. How noble is my bloodline? Do you think an ant like you has the right to criticize me? His Highness Crown Prince's eyes blazed with murderous intent, as if they were spitting fire. Ling Xiao's words seemed to have hurt him. Although he was of noble birth and possessed extraordinary talent, his possession of both divine bone and immortal root made him the target of much doubt and ridicule in the eternal immortal dynasty. However, he believed that once he became the true Son of God and led the divine race, all doubts would vanish. He might even be able to advance further and become the supreme successor of the eternal immortal dynasty. His Highness Crown Prince's greatest ambition was to rule both the divine and immortal races. Cut the crap. If you want to become the Son of God, let's see if you're qualified. Ling Xiao sneered as an incomparably powerful battle intent surged from his body. He couldn't allow His Highness Crown Prince to devour the fortune left behind by the 12 ancestral gods. Ling Xiao was faintly able to sense that if he fused with the 12 quintessence energies, then he might be able to rely on them to establish his Dao foundation and break through to the Imperial Monarch realm in one go. Rumble. Killing intent flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he threw a punch at His Highness. After fusing with the chaotic divine bone, Ling Xiao's physical body had become even more powerful and unfathomable. A casual strike of his had the power to destroy the world. Ling Xiao felt that if this continued, he might be able to walk the path of proving his Dao through strength. Die, you ant! His Highness great-grandson also sneered. He did not take Ling Xiao seriously at all. He also charged towards Ling Xiao like a bolt of lightning. His cultivation base had already reached the second layer of the high immortal realm, and he had condensed the immortal spirit source body. Moreover, he was proficient in all sorts of supreme immortal arts of the eternal immortal dynasty. His strength was unparalleled, and he could be said to be invincible in the same realm. If he couldn't even defeat an immortal venerable expert, then he wouldn't deserve the title of His Highness great-grandson. Gotcha! His Highness great-grandson was surrounded by dazzling immortal light. His body was as dazzling as glass. He threw a punch in the air, and blazing flames rose from it. It was a 7-colored flame that formed mysterious lotuses in the void, as if it could destroy everything. This is the 7-colored immortal lotus fire? Ling Xiao's body trembled, and his eyes revealed a trace of incomparable shock. He suddenly remembered the highness of the immortal clan that had appeared in the demon world. He had not expected His Highness great-grandson to be able to use the 7-colored immortal lotus fire. It seemed like that highness of the immortal clan was related to the eternal immortal dynasty. Before he spoke, Ling Xiao and His Highness great-grandson had already collided. Gotcha! The void trembled. Ling Xiao and His Highness great-grandson's qi erupted like a volcano. Ling Xiao and His Highness great-grandson were like two dazzling balls of light, throwing out hundreds and thousands of punches in an instant. Their qi was incomparably terrifying. Blazing divine light and immortal light swept out in all directions like a storm. The 7-colored immortal lotus fire was dazzling. It contained the origin of fire and could burn everything. If it had been before, it might have been able to pose a significant threat to Ling Xiao. But now, Ling Xiao's sky-devouring fire had not only merged with the origin of fire, but the chaotic divine bone in his body had also strengthened his physical body to the extreme. Enveloped by the 7-colored immortal lotus fire, the chaotic light around him rose, resisting the onslaught of the flames. Ling Xiao's qi was ancient and boundless. His entire person was like an immemorial ancestor god that had come back to life. Endless chaotic mist rose, forming an incomparably terrifying black hole that could swallow everything. His Highness great-grandson felt extremely uncomfortable. The powerful attacks he had unleashed were all swallowed up by the black hole in the end. Ling Xiao and His Highness great-grandson's physical body collided, stirring up an incomparably terrifying storm from the sky to the ground. If it had not been for the incomparably sturdy space and the support of the boundary, it would have been reduced to smithereens from their collision. Watching the battle between Ling Xiao and His Highness great-grandson, the crowd was somewhat frightened. However, at this moment, they were all confined by the origin energy within the stone pillars. They were unable to do anything at all. They could only watch the battle before them, feeling extremely uneasy. The immortal root in Lei Ling's body has actually disappeared? There seems to be an incomparably powerful divine bone in his chest. Could he really be a member of the god tribe? It's hard to say. Perhaps he obtained some good fortune in the Hall of Gods, causing him to merge with the divine bone and collapse the immortal root in his body. Now I'm only concerned about whether Lei Ling can defeat His Highness great-grandson. Although His Highness great-grandson is only at the second heaven of the Lord Immortal Realm, he is known to be invincible among his peers. He has even killed a third heaven of the Lord Immortal Realm expert. If Lei Ling can defeat His Highness great-grandson, perhaps we can still live. Otherwise, everything is over. How is His Highness great-grandson's protector? The crowd was trembling with fear as they discussed animatedly, guessing the outcome of this battle. Their gazes landed in the distance, where another battle was taking place. The profound heaven immortal lord held the profound heaven sword in his hand as sword intent rose around him. His aura was incomparably powerful, as though it could destroy everything. Every slash of his sword could cause the void to tremble. The old man opposite her wore a gray robe and looked extremely old. His entire body was filled with a gloomy aura, but his figure was like a ghost. Moreover, when he attacked, it was as though he could topple mountains and overturn seas. His aura was incomparably terrifying. In terms of cultivation, the profound heaven immortal lord was equivalent to a person who had just entered the Lord immortal realm. Naturally, he could not be compared to the old man. Chapter 2994. However, the profound heaven immortal lord was once a peerless immortal lord in the immortal world. He even had the potential to become an immortal emperor. His strength was terrifying, and the profound heaven sword principle could suppress everything. The profound heaven sword, an apex emperor weapon, shone brightly in the profound heaven immortal lord's hand and exploded with destructive power. Kacha! Tens of thousands of sword lights slashed down from the sky, and the world seemed to be split in half. The void trembled violently and endless divine light surged. The old man's face was grim as he pushed out with both of his palms. It was as though two ancient worlds had fused together in an instant. Then, it enveloped the sword chi. Sword chi tore through everything and surged with chaotic light. It rampaged through the world, causing the world to tremble violently. Then, it shattered and returned to nothingness. Profound heaven sword principle. The profound heaven immortal lord. The old man's eyes were filled with disbelief as he recognized the profound heaven immortal lord. He was considered an antique and had seen the profound heaven immortal lord in action before. He had a deep impression of the profound heaven sword principle. However, he was just a young man at that time. He did not expect that the profound heaven immortal lord, who should have died tens of millions of years ago, was still alive. However, the profound heaven immortal lord naturally could not respond. Her eyes were empty, but her sword intent surged and pierced through the void like a dazzling light. The only thing that could respond to the old man was the peerless profound heaven sword. The profound heaven immortal lord held the profound heaven sword and swept through the void. The sky was filled with sword chi shadows that were left behind by the profound heaven immortal lord. However, every sword was aimed at the old man's vital points. Although the profound heaven immortal lord had lost her intelligence, she still retained her powerful battle instincts. Although the old man was extremely powerful, he still had to be cautious when facing the profound heaven immortal lord. He kept dodging the sword chi and used his supreme immortal technique to counter the enemy. While destroying the sword chi that followed him like a shadow, he used his teleportation technique to find an opportunity to kill the old man. At this moment, the old man did not notice that there was a golden lightning in the distance. Its aura was very obscure, and it was watching the battle between the old man and the profound heaven immortal lord. It was a small golden snake that was not conspicuous at all. It was Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin could feel the strength of the old man. With his strength, he would be killed before he could even get close to the old man. Xiao Jin was very smart and patient. He wasn't in a hurry to attack. Instead, he hid in the void and used his innate spatial ability to conceal his presence. He was looking for an opportunity to strike and kill. The most terrifying thing about Little Gold was the poison source. As long as the poison source entered the old man's body, and with the help of Xian Tian Immortal Lord, the old man would definitely die. The old man did not expect that there was actually a small snake staring at him. All his attention was now on the Xian Tian Immortal Lord. There's something wrong with this profound heaven immortal monarch. His cultivation is only at the early stage of the immortal monarch realm, but the profound heaven sword is hard to deal with. Once your highness finishes off Lei Ling and captures the Xian Tian Immortal Lord, perhaps your highness will be able to obtain some secrets from her. The old man's turbid eyes flickered as he thought to himself. After making up his mind, he decided not to fight the Xian Tian Immortal Lord head-on. Instead, he used a supreme teleportation immortal technique to avoid the sword chi attacks and delay the Xian Tian Immortal Lord. However, the old man did not expect that the battle between Your Highness and Ling Xiao would not end so easily. Ling Xiao had the primordial immortal body, and Your Highness also had the immortal spirit origin body, also known as the immortal spirit glass body. It was formed by using the power of the divine Tao and the immortal Tao to temper his physical body with the help of the divine Tao and the immortal Tao. Although Your Highness was not known for his strong physical body, his physical body was one of the best among the younger generation in the eternal immortal dynasty. Ling Xiao had not expected Your Highness' physical body to be stronger than Zhang Chen's. If he had not merged with the chaotic divine bone, his primordial immortal body would have been inferior. After all, Your Highness was the eternal immortal dynasty's great-grandson. The eternal immortal dynasty had suppressed the immortal world for countless eras. Its strength was unfathomable, and it naturally had a vast amount of natural treasures and endless resources. The immortal world was not affected by each great calamity, but the immortal tribe would obtain countless treasures from each great calamity. As a result, immortal emperors, who were rarely seen in the divine world and other greater thousand worlds, could be found everywhere in the immortal world. Ling Xiao found it hard to imagine. Once the great calamity descended and the myriad worlds completed their final fusion, who would be able to stop the immortal tribe? Where did his divine clan mark come from? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and his heart was filled with questions. Your Highness was too strange. Not only did he have the immortal root and divine bone, but he also had the divine clan mark, which contained the fortune of the divine clan. He could enter the hall of the gods as if he was invincible. There were too many things about Your Highness that Ling Xiao did not understand. Ling Xiao's mind spun, but he did not slow down at all. In the blink of an eye, he had exchanged over 1,000 blows with Your Highness. Ling Xiao's chaos divine bone finally played a powerful role. Under the power of the chaotic divine bone, Ling Xiao seemed to have grasped the origin of chaos and commanded the 12 sky arts. 12 complete and ancient worlds seemed to have formed behind him. They spewed out endless light and pressed down on His Highness Great Sunday. Every punch of Ling Xiao's was wrapped in boundless world energy. Gradually, Your Highness fell into a disadvantageous position. The aura of the 12 great Tao origins? How is this possible? Your Highness's expression was a little ugly, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible. I've said it before. I'm the true Son of God. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, but his attacks became even fiercer. Ling Xiao's fist swept across the void, and an unparalleled fist print bloomed with endless light like a blazing sun. Under this punch, the birth and death of worlds, the changes in time and space, the reincarnation of all living beings, and all kinds of strange scenes appeared. This was the epic fist. Ling Xiao used the chaos divine bone to activate the epic fist, causing the power of this punch to be extremely terrifying. Son of God? Even if you are the true Son of God, you will still die. Your Highness's expression was incomparably cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He chopped down with his palm, and in an instant, a vast and unparalleled saber will emerged from his body. It was extremely sharp. Layers of saber light fell, causing everyone to feel chills all over their bodies and their hearts to palpitate. Chapter 2995. Immortal Emperor God Slaying Saber. His Highness Great Sun shouted. Suddenly, the shadow of an ancient immortal emperor emerged from the saber radiance. It suppressed the 8 barren lands and swept across the heavens with an invincible and mysterious aura. As soon as the immortal Emperor God Slaying Saber appeared, the saber radiance in the sky condensed into a huge saber radiance and slashed towards Ling Xiao. This was a supreme immortal technique, a peerless saber technique left behind by an immortal emperor. It was extremely terrifying. Facing the powerful pressure from Ling Xiao, His Highness Great Sun no longer held back and directly displayed the immortal Emperor God Slaying Saber. Epic Fist versus Immortal Emperor God slaying Saber. Rumble. The divine light that filled the sky swept out in all directions, as if two suns had collided with each other. Then, a terrifying explosion instantly broke out. Ling Xiao and His Highness Great Sun were instantly drowned. In the void, only the peerless fist print and the supreme saber radiance were left. The moment the fist print and the saber radiance collided, it was as if time and space had frozen. Then, a terrifying storm and huge waves crashed into the sky. The fist print and the saber radiance were shattered at the same time. However, in the distorted divine light storm, the fist print reformed the moment it was shattered. It was as if it was endlessly growing and contained the power of an epic. Ling Xiao pierced through the heavy divine light storm. His body was surrounded by chaotic light. The peerless epic fist directly landed on His Highness Great Sun's chest. His Highness Great Sun's body shook violently. Cracks appeared on his glass-like body. Then, he was sent flying and coughed out a mouthful of pale golden blood. His Highness Great Sun was still injured by Ling Xiao's epic fist. What? Everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable shock, and then they began to go wild with joy. Lei Ling injured His Highness Great Sun? It seems like we're saved this time. How can Lei Ling's physical body be so terrifying? I remember that his physical body wasn't so strong when he fought with Zhang Qin. Could it be that he was hiding his strength? It's very possible. Lei Ling's cultivation is only at the immortal venerable realm. How can he have such terrifying combat strength? If this news spreads, I'm afraid it will shock the entire immortal world. Don't be so smug. I think His Highness Great Sun hasn't used his full strength yet. His Highness Great Sun is going to be angry. I hope Lei Ling can block it. Everyone could see that His Highness Crown Prince's face was extremely ugly, but an even more terrifying aura fluctuation erupted from his body. Great. Lei Ling, you've successfully angered me. His Highness wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and walked towards Ling Xiao. Rumble. Every step he took caused the world to rumble and the surrounding space to tremble. He radiated with a vast presence of the world. Blazing divine light and immortal light surged around him, forming a perfect balance like a Tai Chi diagram. His eyes were filled with cold, killing intent, cruel and bloodthirsty as he stared fixedly at Ling Xiao. Emperor, Emperor! His voice was like a clap of thunder. His words were like the law, causing the surrounding space to tremble. As soon as Emperor Heaven's God Great Tao precepts surged and countless runes gathered in the void, forming a mysterious character. Ling Xiao could clearly see that it was the word death. The death rune twisted in the void and rushed toward Ling Xiao at an extremely fast speed. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He could feel the space around him pressing down on him. It was an irresistible force, terrifying to the extreme. It was as if thousands of Daos had descended in an instant, suppressing his body. Terrifying runes appeared in front of him in an instant, and then fused into his body in an incomparably strange way. Oh no! It's the Decree Immortal skill of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty. Lei Ling is in danger, Zhang Qin suddenly exclaimed. His eyes were filled with worry. Decree Immortal skill? Could it be the supreme immortal skill created by the Celestial Emperor? Brother Lei Ling, you must block it. The Saintess of Cloudstream's eyes were also filled with worry. The Decree Immortal skill was created by the Celestial Emperor of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty. It was said that only the princes of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty could cultivate it. It was a supreme immortal skill that commanded the Daos of the heavens and earth. It was extremely terrifying. The Decree Immortal skill could make one's words the law of the world. Therefore, Zhang Qin and Yunshi Saintess could see that the death rune was formed by the origin of the Great Tao. It was an attack technique that targeted the origin. Ling Xiao could not block it at all. It directly entered his body. Boom! Ling Xiao sensed that the death rune had exploded the moment it entered his body. It turned into a terrifying source of death that surged into his body, causing his vitality to wither and his meridians to break. His entire being was heading towards a state of destruction. His entire body seemed to be unable to move, and he could only watch as the source of death spread out. What a powerful and strange immortal skill! Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. The decree immortal skill was extremely strange and impossible to guard against. It was similar to the secret curse technique of the heavenly curse sect. However, Ling Zhao's secret curse technique could not neutralize the decree immortal skill. Boom! At this moment, the chaotic divine bone in Ling Zhao's chest shone brightly. Chaotic mist rose and dazzled like a small sun. Boundless life origin surged. At the same time, the chaotic divine bone seemed to be able to devour everything. In an instant, it devoured all the death origin in Ling Zhao's body. He regained control of his physical body in an instant. Is this the so-called decree immortal skill? It's just so. Ling Zhao looked at His Highness and smiled faintly. Is that so? This is just the beginning. His Highness' great son sneered. Rumble. He strode toward Ling Zhao. The aura around him was majestic and mysterious. He was like an emperor who could command the power of the heavens and earth. Decree, seal the divine bone. His Highness's voice boomed like thunder. In an instant, the immortal light in the void twisted and rose, forming a seal rune that flew towards Ling Zhao and burrowed into his body. The seal rune was like a spiderweb. It shone brilliantly and enveloped the chaotic divine bone in Ling Zhao's chest. It turned into a majestic sealing force and sealed Ling Zhao's chaotic divine bone. Decree, weaken the body. His Highness's voice rang out again. This time, a weaken rune appeared in the void. Immortal light shone brilliantly and quickly entered Ling Zhao's body. Countless cracks appeared on Ling Zhao's body like a spider web. His physical body began to weaken. His life origin seemed to be rapidly draining away. His aura grew weaker and weaker. Chapter 2996. Order, shatter the bones. Order, dissipate the origin. Order, primordial spirit chaos. His Highness' great-grandson walked towards Ling Zhao. With each step, he would shout loudly, causing the surroundings to tremble. The source of the great path resonated, condensing into mysterious runes that all merged into Ling Zhao's body. Ling Zhao's current state was extremely miserable. His physical body seemed to be crumbling. His life force was extremely weak. The chaotic divine bone in his chest was sealed. Even his primordial spirit was weakening as though it would shatter at any time. Legend had it that the Order Immortal skill was a supreme immortal skill that the Celestial Emperor comprehended the Tao of heaven and earth. He controlled the Tao of heaven and earth's origin. It was extremely powerful and strange. No one could resist it. His Highness used the command immortal art. With his cultivation, it was still a bit difficult for him. After giving out 7 commands in a row, his face turned a bit pale. However, the moment the 7 Tao decree appeared, Ling Zhao was also heavily injured. You want to become the son of God? You're courting death. Order, disperse the soul. His Highness' great-grandson's expression was incomparably cold. He looked at Ling Zhao before him and gave his final order. Rumble. The light of the great path bloomed all over the sky. Endless power of the origin converged in the void and finally formed an extremely mysterious black talisman. It was very complex. Like a flowing light, it was instantly imprinted into Ling Zhao's body. Ling Zhao's entire body trembled, and his aura weakened rapidly. In the end, he exploded in the air, turning into nothingness. His soul was completely dispersed. What? Everyone was stunned, especially the geniuses of the 6 major divine sects. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Their faces turned pale and they looked hopeless. Lei Ling was really dead? They could not believe it and could not accept what had happened. His Highness' great-grandson's Order Immortal skill was too powerful. It was so powerful that it killed Lei Ling directly. Lei Ling's soul was dispersed without any resistance. At this moment, the old man who was fighting with the Xiantian Immortal Lord saw Ling Zhao's soul being dispersed and his expression changed. Oh no! His Highness' great-grandson, Lei Ling is not dead. His immortal slaughtering sword didn't appear. The old man roared, wanting to rush out of the sword chi of profound heaven immortal master and help His Highness Great Sunday. However, he was still blocked by profound heaven immortal master. What? His Highness Crown Prince's expression also changed abruptly. He understood what the elder meant. Lei Ling had inherited the great immortal culling art and the immortal culling sword. If he had really died under the order great immortal technique, the immortal culling sword should have appeared. But now that the immortal culling sword had not appeared, it meant that Ling Xiao was not dead. He had used an extremely strange method to escape. His Royal Highness great-grandson suddenly felt an ice-cold killing intent coming from behind him. Without even thinking, he instantly teleported away. Clang. Sword chi swept across the void in all directions. Light gathered in the sky, forming an ocean of slaughter. It was terrifying to the extreme. Behind His Highness great-grandson, Ling Xiao arrived with the immortal slaughtering sword in hand. The sword light illuminated all corners of the world, and the sharp sword light was pointed directly at His Highness great-grandson. Ling Xiao's robes fluttered in the wind, and his purple hair fluttered in the wind. His entire body was untainted by even a speck of dust. How could he possibly look like he was severely injured? Ling Xiao's speed was too fast, and this was the immortal slaughtering sword's killing blow. As a result, His Highness great-grandson was unable to dodge the immortal slaughtering sword, and his chest was instantly pierced through by the immortal slaughtering sword. Blood filled the air. His Highness great-grandson's powerful defensive immortal weapon could not withstand the immortal slaughtering sword's attack at all, and it was smashed into pieces. After the sharp sword chi entered His Highness great-grandson's body, it instantly spread throughout his entire body. Then, his entire body exploded into pieces in the void with a loud bang. A scapegoat puppet? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He clearly sensed that his immortal slaughtering sword had only killed a lifeless puppet. He did not detect the fluctuation of His Highness great-grandson's primordial spirit. Buzz. His Highness great-grandson turned into nothingness in the void, but in the next moment he appeared tens of thousands of feet away and reformed his body. Lei Ling, how could you possibly block my order great immortal technique? His Highness great-grandson's expression was very ugly as he stared at Ling Xiao coldly. That fatal blow from Ling Xiao's immortal slaughtering sword had made him feel a fatal threat. Therefore, at the critical moment, he could only activate his life-saving trump card, the immortal scapegoat puppet, and escape death. However, what shocked him even more was that Ling Xiao had actually blocked his Order Great Immortal technique and appeared to be unscathed. Your Order Great Immortal technique is indeed very powerful. Even an immortal lord would probably die without a doubt. However, it's useless against me. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, his eyes as bright as the stars. The Order Great Immortal technique was a supreme great Tao of order. It controlled the great Tao of heaven and earth and used its power to attack. It could destroy everything. However, Ling Xiao's primordial immortal body was extremely special. It was condensed from the wordless heavenly book and the good fortune jade disc. The wordless heavenly book could devour all great Tao origins, while the good fortune jade disc could comprehend the power of the great Tao of heaven and earth. Therefore, the terrifying runes formed by the Order Great Immortal technique were instantly absorbed by the two treasures after entering Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao had only beaten him at his own game. He had used a secret teleportation technique to create a doppelganger. Then, he had taken advantage of the moment when the doppelganger was destroyed and His Highness great-grandson was distracted to silently take out the immortal slaughtering sword and launch a fatal blow. However, he had not expected His Highness great-grandson to have so many trump cards. He even had an immortal scapegoat puppet. A puppet that could allow an immortal lord to die in his place was a supreme treasure that could be refined by at least an immortal emperor. It seemed that His Highness great-grandson held a very high position in the immortal emperor's heart. Lei Ling, you are indeed very powerful. Now, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the immortal slaughtering sword and become my follower. Then I can spare your life. His Highness great-grandson stared at Ling Xiao coldly and said, "Follower? Are you sure you're not dreaming?" Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His Highness the great-grandson really thought highly of himself. Now that things had come to this, it seemed like the two of them would not rest until one of them was dead. Furthermore, he had already used all his trump cards, and Ling Xiao had almost killed His Highness the great-grandson. Yet, he still wanted to subdue Ling Xiao? Lei Ling, you are indeed very powerful. However, you have no idea how powerful the Eternal Immortal Dynasty is. If the Eternal Immortal Dynasty wants to kill you, it will be as easy as crushing an ant. Don't even think that the 6 great divine sects can save you. In the eyes of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty, the 6 great divine sects are no more than ants. His Highness great-grandson said coldly. Bookmark for easy reading. Chapter 2997. Many of the geniuses from the 6 divine sects were not convinced by His Highness' words, and they sneered coldly. Cut the crap. You and I both know that only one person can obtain the fortune of the 12 ancestor gods in the Hall of Gods today. So, let's fight to the death. Ling Xiao said flatly, and a strong fighting spirit surged in his eyes. His Highness great-grandson before him was indeed extremely powerful, making him feel extremely pressured. Moreover, he felt that His Highness great-grandson must still have a powerful trump card. He might even have an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. This was going to be a tough fight, but Ling Xiao was filled with fighting spirit. He wanted to see how powerful the peerless genius of the immortal tribe was. What a pity! I gave you the chance, but you chose to reject it. I hope you don't regret it. Moreover, do you really think that you can defeat me with the immortal culling sword? His Highness great-son sighed, and a dangerous light flashed in his eyes. Rumble! Blazing immortal light rose around him, and it was dazzling. In an instant, the surrounding sky shook violently. Clang, clang, clang. A sound like a great bell rang, and it contained vast great Tao laws, intertwined with divine chains of order. It was mysterious and unpredictable. Above His Highness great-son's head, a golden bell that emitted boundless immortal light appeared. The golden bell was ancient and mysterious, and it had the sun, moon, and stars on it. It was mysterious and it was surrounded by chaotic qi, as if it could suppress everything. A mighty extreme Dao Emperor aura spread out from it. It is indeed an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. A bright light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes as he looked at the golden bell and slowly said. The golden bell looked extremely mysterious and ancient. As soon as it appeared in the void, it exploded with a power that could suppress everything, causing the Hall of Gods to shake violently. This is the chaotic immortal bell? Zhang Chen's body shook as he exclaimed. Chaotic immortal bell? Brother Lei Ling, be careful. This chaotic immortal bell is an extreme Dao Emperor weapon of the Celestial King. Legend has it that it can destroy 3,000 worlds and suppress billions of living beings. Its power is extremely terrifying. Saintess Yun, she shouted at Ling Xiao with a pale face. The Immortal Emperor was the lord of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty, a true immortal emperor. He was said to be invincible and had an incomparably long lifespan. It was precisely because of the Immortal Emperor's existence that the Eternal Immortal Dynasty was able to suppress the immortal realm and make the 9 great immortal sects submit to him. There were many legends about the Immortal Emperors in the immortal world, but most of them were elusive. The Immortal Emperor of the Eternal Immortal Dynasty, on the other hand, had shown his power in the immortal world and suppressed Wuji many times. His power was unfathomable. The chaotic immortal bell was an extremely famous emperor weapon in the immortal world. No one would have thought that His Highness great-grandson would be so favored by the immortal emperor that he would even bestow the chaos immortal bell upon him. No wonder His Highness was so confident. Once the primal chaos immortal bell appeared, even if Ling Xiao had the immortal slaughtering sword, he would still be no match for His Highness Great Sunday Rumble. The chaotic immortal bell floated above His Highness great-grandson's head, sprinkling down rays of dazzling light. It made His Highness great-grandson look even more majestic and mysterious. He strode towards Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with cold, killing intent. He had an air of superiority about him. The chaotic immortal bell vibrated violently, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently as if it would collapse at any time. Lei Ling, since you don't know what's good for you, I'll fulfill your wish. His Highness great-grandson said coldly. Boom! A ray of chaotic immortal light shot out from the chaotic immortal bell. It was dazzling and shot towards Ling Xiao's glabella. It contained a great destructive force. So what if you have the chaotic immortal bell? It's just a legacy left behind by the predecessors. I'll still kill you today. Ling Xiao sneered. The immortal culling sword vibrated and emitted a dazzling immortal light. Swoosh! Ling Xiao's sword swept across the sky. The immortal culling sword was dazzling and its sword chi swept across the surroundings. It collided with the chaotic immortal light and instantly erupted with a shocking destructive force. The immortal culling sword trembled slightly and emitted an incomparably excited fluctuation. It was as if it had met its destined enemy. It constantly traversed the void and pierced towards the chaotic immortal bell. Back then, my grandfather, the immortal emperor, killed the heavenly grandmaster great emperor. Today, I can kill you too. Anyone from the divine clan who dares to lay their hands on the immortal culling sword must die. His Highness great-grandson sneered. Rumble! He strode across the void with the chaotic immortal bell protecting him. When the sword chi of the immortal culling sword hit the chaotic immortal bell, it was as if gold and iron had struck each other. At the same time, it erupted with dazzling divine light. The chaotic immortal bell provided him with an absolute defense. He charged towards Ling Xiao and unleashed a supreme immortal technique. His entire body erupted with unparalleled combat strength as he engaged in an intense battle with Ling Xiao. The immortal emperor killed the heavenly grandmaster great emperor? How dare you spout such arrogant words? Back then, the heavenly grandmaster great emperor dominated the immortal world. Those old monsters and antiques did not dare to come out. No one knows where the immortal emperor is. How dare you claim to have killed the heavenly grandmaster great emperor? Ling Xiao was shocked at first, but then he sneered coldly. Although he did not know how the heavenly grandmaster great emperor died, it was rumored that the heavenly grandmaster great emperor dominated the world and was invincible. At that time, no one had heard of the name of the immortal emperor. However, Ling Xiao felt that perhaps the eternal immortal dynasty had something to do with the death of the heavenly grandmaster great emperor. Rumble! Ling Xiao's mind was spinning, but his attacks were getting fiercer. Sword chi swept across the void and shrouded the entire world. The immortal culling sword clashed with the chaotic immortal bell continuously, erupting with destructive power. Ling Xiao and his Highness great-grandson did not hold back at all as they wielded the supreme emperor weapons. The battle intensified. In an instant, they had clashed more than 10,000 times. Each move was extremely dangerous. Ling Xiao and his Highness great-grandson turned into two blazing tornadoes that swept across the void. Their auras were extremely terrifying. As for the two supreme emperor weapons, it was as if they were fated to fight each other. They began to awaken completely and continued to clash. Terrifying supreme emperor aura spread out in all directions. The 12 stone pillars stood firm and unmoved, protecting Yun Shi, Zhan Qin, and the others. However, the area outside the 12 stone pillars was shrouded by the supreme emperor aura. It was as vast as the sea and seemed to be able to annihilate everything. Even the profound heaven immortal lord and the old man were affected by the supreme emperor aura. Both of them were injured by the supreme emperor aura as if they were struck by lightning. Then, they were shifted to a faraway place to continue the battle. Rumble! Sword chi filled the sky as the extreme emperor's aura swept out in all directions, causing the old man's expression to change drastically. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The profound heaven immortal monarch's sword pierced his arm, leaving behind a long bloody wound. Swoosh! At this moment, Xiao Jin, who had been hiding in the void, shot out like a bolt of lightning. Its speed was extremely fast, but it did not make a sound and bit the old man's arm. Chapter 2998. Xiao Jin's timing was perfect. Although the old man's cultivation was extremely strong, he was shocked and angry that he was pushed back by the storm caused by the collision between the Chaos Immortal Bell and the Immortal Culling Sword. His arm was injured by the Immortal Culling Sword at the same time. All his attention was on the profound Heaven Immortal Monarch. How could he pay attention to Xiao Jin? Moreover, Xiao Jin had the spatial talent and the poison talent. Its spatial talent was also extremely powerful. It could move through the void at will without making a sound. A golden light flashed in the void, and Xiao Jin appeared in front of the old man, biting at his injured arm. "You're courting death." At this moment, the old man suddenly felt a sense of danger. Naturally, he could not allow Xiao Jin to bite his arm. A terrifying emperor's aura rose around him. He slashed out with his other arm, turning it into a sharp blade light, wanting to kill Xiao Jin directly. Boom! A crazed look appeared in Xiao Jin's eyes. Mysterious spatial fluctuations rippled around him. In an instant, the void twisted and layers of space appeared to protect him. Xiao Jin did not hesitate, and his speed increased. He chose to take the old man's attack head-on, and bite the old man's arm. The old man's strength was extremely strong. The blade light instantly broke through the layers of space, destroyed all defenses, and then slashed at Xiao Jin's body. Xiao Jin's body shone with golden light, and with a flash of blood, a golden snake scale suddenly shattered. Xiao Jin also let out an incomparably shrill hiss. Half of his snake tail was instantly cut off. However, at the same time, Xiao Jin's teeth streaked across the old man's injured arm. The poison source was like a black lightning bolt. It was extremely intelligent as it directly surged into the old man's blood and disappeared without a trace. What kind of snake venom is this? The old man did not care at first. His cultivation had reached the Imperial Emperor realm, and he had formed the body of origin. It could be said that he was almost invulnerable to all poisons. But when he felt his arm go numb, and a fatal threat surged into his heart, his face suddenly changed, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Rumble. After the origin of poison entered the old man's body, it erupted with incomparable ferocity. Like a black magma, it instantly surged towards the old man's limbs and bones, constantly eroding his flesh and devouring his life force. The old man's entire body was covered with a layer of black poisonous fog. He looked extremely terrifying. Xiao Jin was also very smart. After the poison origin entered the old man's body, it endured the pain and curled up its snake tail. Then, it turned into a golden light and instantly drilled into space, disappearing without a trace. Clang! At this moment, the Xian Tian Celestial Lord's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. He held the Xian Tian sword and charged toward the old man. This is the source of poison. How could this be? Despicable and shameless. You guys are too despicable. The old man roared crazily. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He truly felt the threat of death looming over him. After the poison origin entered his body, he did not hesitate to swallow all kinds of healing immortal pills. At the same time, he circulated his origin energy in an attempt to expel the snake venom in his body. However, he did not expect the poison origin to be so insistent. Moreover, it was extremely intelligent. It kept spreading into his body, devouring his life force and strengthening itself. In the end, the old man was unable to do anything about the poison origin. When the Xian Tian Celestial Lord charged over, the old man's soul almost left his body. However, no matter how much he roared, the Xian Tian Celestial Lord did not have any intelligence and would not answer him. Only the sharp Xian Tian sword slashed down from the sky. Rumble! The sky was filled with surging sword chi and quickly drowned the old man. His Highness's protector is going to die? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. I think I saw him being bitten by something and being poisoned by some powerful poison. I'm afraid he can't even save himself now. What a terrifying poison. It can even poison a celestial lord to death. This Lei Ling's means are really unfathomable. In this case, Lei Ling might really have a chance to defeat His Highness. Everyone's heart was somewhat excited. They seemed to have seen the hope of survival. If the Xian Tian Celestial Lord could kill His Highness's protector, they might be able to defeat His Highness when the two of them attacked together. At this moment, Ling Xiao and His Highness' great-grandson were locked in a stalemate. Ling Xiao used the Great Immortal Culling technique. The Immortal Culling Sword was unparalleled and constantly attacked His Highness. However, they were all blocked by the Chaos Immortal Bell. With the Chaos Immortal Bell, His Highness' great son seemed to possess an immortal body and an absolute defense. He did not need any defense. He used all kinds of supreme immortal techniques and fought fiercely with Ling Xiao. At this moment, His Highness's eyes flashed and his expression changed. He also noticed that something was wrong with the old man's condition. "Get lost." His Highness the great-grandson roared. The Chaos Immortal Bell instantly radiated a bright light as the bell chimes reverberated through the sky, exuding a mysterious aura that shattered the sword chi in the air. After that, Ling Xiao was also sent flying through the air. His Highness flew towards the Xian Tian Celestial Lord in an attempt to save the old man. "Where do you think you're going?" Ling Xiao sneered and shouted as well. His killing intent surged. The great culling immortal art made his body shine with unparalleled light, forming a slaughter domain. His speed was extremely fast, and he directly blocked in front of His Highness' great-grandson. Clang! The immortal culling sword pierced through the air. The sword light shone brightly in all directions. Billions of sword chi gathered on the immortal culling sword and blasted on the Chaos Immortal Bell. The Chaos Immortal Bell trembled violently and let out a buzzing sound. Although the Chaos Immortal Bell gave His Highness an absolute defense, it could not completely block off the terrifying recoil force. It was especially so for a peerless imperial weapon like the Immortal Culling Sword. It was a pure sword of slaughter with unparalleled power. The force of the recoil caused the Crown Prince to tremble. His face could not help but become slightly pale. His vital energy and blood surged as he was sent flying. "Lei Ling, you're courting death." His Highness's eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent and anger. He was extremely anxious. His protector urgently needed his help. Otherwise, he would die in the hands of the Xian Tian Celestial Lord. However, he was blocked by Ling Xiao and could not get away. He hated Ling Xiao to the extreme. The primal Chaos Immortal Bell also seemed to feel the anger of the Crown Prince, and instantly began to shine brightly. Chapter 2999. Buzz. The Chaos Immortal Bell instantly expanded in the void. Dazzling golden light blossomed as the Chaos Immortal Bell grew to a height of over 10,000 feet, like a mountain. Wild Sand Literature Network boundless chaotic light surged, forming streaks of chaotic light beams that contain the power of great destruction. Even Ling Xiao could feel an extremely dangerous fluctuation from the Chaos Immortal Bell. Chaos destruction, suppression of the infinite. Tai Xuanxia roared. Endless chaotic light beams shot out from the Chaos Immortal Bell, blotting out the sky and covering the earth as they shot towards Ling Xiao. At the same time, the primal Chaos Immortal Bell shook violently. Like an ancient divine mountain, it came crashing down toward Ling Xiao. Under Tai Xuanxia's extreme anger, the Chaos Immortal Bell had completely awakened. Ling Xiao could even vaguely see a figure shrouded in immortal light in the chaotic world around the Chaos Immortal Bell. It suppressed everything and swept across everything, its aura terrifying to the extreme. Immortal Emperor. Ling Xiao almost instantly guessed that Tai Xuanxia must have activated the power left in the Chaos Immortal Bell by the Immortal Emperor, allowing the bell to completely awaken. Even if this attack wasn't as powerful as the Supreme Emperor's attack, it wasn't far off. Buzz. The immortal culling sword buzzed and trembled. The sword light was dazzling. In an instant, it soared across the sky, turning into millions of sword chi, blocking the chaotic light beams. However, in the face of the vast and majestic Chaos Immortal Bell, Ling Xiao felt that it was unbeatable, and his heart palpitated. Ling Xiao couldn't resist such power. Everyone's face turned pale at this moment, their eyes surging with despair. This was because the Chaos Immortal Bell didn't only target Ling Xiao, but also enveloped all of them, including the 12 stone pillars and the land of inheritance. The Chaos Immortal Bell seemed to want to completely destroy this land of inheritance. Rumble. However, at this moment, the 12 stone pillars began to tremble violently. Endless divine light rose, and chaotic mist filled the air. The figures of the 12 ancestor gods on the 12 stone pillars seemed to have become clearer. Terrifying rays of light burst out from the 12 stone pillars in an instant. They shot up into the sky as if they had pierced through the heavens and the earth. The 12 beams of light were vast and contained the auras of 12 types of Grand Tao. They interweaved with each other, ancient and mysterious, and instantly collided with the chaotic immortal bell. Boom! It was as if a star had crashed into the earth. In an instant, divine light rippled for hundreds of millions of feet. The terrifying light spread out in all directions. Ling Xiao realized that the Chaos Immortal Bell was suspended in the void. It was completely bound by the 12 beams of light, unable to budge at all. PFFF. Tai Xuanxia, on the other hand, seemed to have suffered a huge backlash. His face paled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. What? His face was filled with disbelief. This is the Hall of the Gods, a place of inheritance left behind by the 12 elder gods. How dare a mere immortal behave so atrociously here? You're lucky that the 12 ancestor gods didn't directly suppress you. Ling Xiao sneered. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he charged towards Tai Xuanxia with the immortal culling sword in his hand. As the saying goes, take advantage of your weakness. Now that the chaotic immortal bell was imprisoned, it was the best time for Ling Xiao to strike. Otherwise, if the chaotic immortal bell broke free, Tai Xuanxia would have another tortoise shell. Moreover, Ling Xiao could vaguely guess what was going on. This was the Hall of the Gods. The 12 stone pillars must contain the wills of the 12 ancestor gods. Tai Xuanxia possessed the divine bone, which was why he could sneak into this place. However, the chaotic immortal bell, an immortal emperor's supreme emperor weapon, must have disturbed the wills of the 12 ancestor gods. That was why it was imprisoned. Rumble. Sword chi filled the sky. Ling Xiao controlled the immortal culling sword with the great immortal culling art and unleashed a peerless sword will. Tai Xuanxia's expression changed drastically as he trembled with fear. He instantly shifted to the distance. While dodging the immortal culling sword, he desperately urged the chaotic immortal bell to summon it back. Suddenly, Tai Xuanxia was in an extremely difficult situation. He was so depressed that he almost vomited blood. Originally, he wanted to revive the chaotic immortal bell to kill Ling Xiao. However, he never thought that such a situation would occur. Without the chaotic immortal bell, he didn't dare to take Ling Xiao's immortal culling sword head-on. He could only flee in all directions. At this moment, Tai Xuanxia couldn't even protect himself. How could he still care about his Tao protector? On the other side of the battlefield, blood rained down from the void. The old man's arms were cut off by the profound heaven immortal lord. The old man was also in an extremely miserable state. He was trapped both internally and externally. The origin of poison had almost blurred his consciousness. He could only rely on his instincts to resist the attack of the profound heaven immortal lord. However, the profound heaven immortal lord was a ruthless person. His attacks were ruthless and sharp. The profound heaven sword could destroy everything, which made the old man feel extremely threatened. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The profound heaven sword shone brightly in the void. In an instant, it split into billions of sword chi and slashed towards the old man. The old man's eyes were filled with despair and madness. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape this calamity. Tai Xuanxia, I'll take my leave first. Lei Ling's spiritual pet has the origin of poison. You must be careful. The old man roared. He stared at the profound heaven immortal lord in front of him. In an instant, a terrifying emperor's aura filled the air and flames rose. He gave up all resistance. Shrouded in black poisonous fog and flames, he pounced towards the profound heaven immortal lord. The sword chi that filled the sky slashed at the old man, causing him to quickly turn into a bloody man. However, he was already determined to die, so he didn't care about this at all. Oh no! He's going to self-destruct. Ling Xiao glanced at the state of Tai Xuanxia's Tao protector. His face changed. Instantly, he wanted to summon the profound heaven immortal lord back. Boom! However, the old man had already rushed to the front of the profound heaven immortal lord. In a frenzied and desperate manner, he instantly self-destructed. The old man's cultivation had reached the fifth heaven of the immortal lord realm. His strength was unfathomable and extremely powerful. However, because of the origin of poison, he had no choice but to self-destruct. How terrifying was the self-destruction of a fifth heaven of the immortal lord realm. The void was shaking violently. Divine light surged all over the sky. Flames rose like a storm and engulfed the Xian Tian immortal lord. There was a trace of worry in Ling Xiao's eyes. After all, the profound heaven immortal lord didn't have much intelligence. That was why she didn't dodge at the first moment. Could she survive the self-destruction of Tai Xuanxia's Tao protector? Chapter 3000. Soon, the light that filled the sky dispersed. The mystic heaven immortal lord held the mystic heaven sword and stepped on the void. His robes fluttered and he was not hurt at all. The sword intent on the mystic heaven immortal lord also became sharper. His Highness's protector died for nothing. Someone said with a strange expression. He tried his best to self-destruct, but he did not hurt the mystic heaven immortal lord at all. What else could it be other than dying for nothing? Most importantly, the protector was too aggrieved. If not for Little Gold's poison origin, the mystic heaven immortal lord would not have defeated him. But he died in the end. Only the great sun immortal lord was left. At this moment, the great sun immortal lord's eyes turned bloodshot. That was his protector, the person who had grown up with him. He was a loyal servant left behind by his father. To a certain extent, he had entrusted his feelings for his father. But now, he chose to self-destruct. The great sun immortal lord could do nothing but watch the old man self-destruct. All of you deserve to die. The great sun immortal lord lifted his head. His hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were bloodshot with despair. He murmured, exuding a monstrous murderous aura. Rumble! The chaos immortal bell also began to tremble violently, as if it wanted to shatter the 12 light beams and return to the great sun immortal lord's hand. Your Highness, it's a pity that your protector is dead. Why don't I send you to see him? Ling Xiao smiled faintly, and his expression was extremely calm. Although he was speaking, his actions were not slow at all. The immortal culling sword split into billions of sword qi in the void, and like an infinite sword formation, it enveloped the great sun immortal lord. Since it was an irreconcilable hatred, Ling Xiao was determined to keep the great sun immortal lord here and not give him a chance to escape. Clang! The mystic heaven immortal lord stood side by side with Ling Xiao. The mystic heaven sword in his hand hummed, spewing out sharp sword qi, and pointed at the great sun immortal lord. No matter how one looked at it, the great sun immortal bell was not a match for Ling Xiao and the mystic heaven immortal lord. Kill! Ling Xiao roared as he charged towards his Highness great sun from the sky. The great slaughter immortal art was a pure emperor art of slaughter that contained the power of slaughter origin. Ling Xiao had obtained the inheritance of the great slaughter immortal art from the great slaughter immortal lord and had comprehended the power of slaughter origin. Therefore, when he used the great culling immortal art, he could erupt with supreme power and destroy everything. Kill! His Highness great-grandson also roared and charged toward Ling Xiao. Rumble! An intense battle broke out in an instant. His Highness great son seemed to have gone mad. He executed all kinds of supreme immortal arts and unleashed his unparalleled strength. Even with the immortal slaughtering sword in his hand, Ling Xiao was still fearless. I'm afraid His Highness is going to lose, right? Zhan Chen's eyes were filled with surprise and joy. Big brother Lei Ling is amazing. The hands of the eternal immortal dynasty are too long. They even reached into the hall of the gods. His Highness Great Sun deserves to die. Yunshi Saintis sneered. It seems like the 12 ancestor gods are still protecting our divine tribe. I hope Lei Ling can kill His Highness Great Sun as soon as possible. The will of the 12 ancestor gods can dominate everything. How dare the immortal emperor's chaotic immortal Bel behave so atrociously in the hall of the gods? He doesn't know what's good for him. If His Highness Great Sun wasn't that person's son, he wouldn't have been able to enter the hall of the gods. He would have been killed long ago. Shu, keep quiet. That person is a taboo of our divine tribe. You can't talk about him. Let's not talk about anything else. Lei Ling saved my life. If he becomes the son of God of our divine tribe, I'll agree to it. I agree too. His Highness Great Sun started to fight desperately, but he soon fell into a disadvantageous position under the combined attacks of Ling Xiao and the profound Heaven Immortal Lord. The sharp sword Qi left streaks of blood on His Highness Great Sun's body, making him look like a bloody mess. He was in an extremely sorry state and miserable state. Although Ling Xiao continued to attack His Highness Great Sun, he was extremely cautious. His Highness Great Sun's methods were extremely strange and could be said to be impossible to guard against. His Highness Great Sun dared to attack Ling Xiao even when the Chaos Immortal Bel was imprisoned. He probably had other tricks up his sleeve. In the end, His Highness Great Sun was almost covered in blood. Although the Chaos Immortal Bell trembled violently and chimed, and chaotic light rose, it was still unable to break free from the imprisonment of the 12 rays of light. His Highness Great Sun, you can die now. Ling Xiao said plainly as he thrust his sword towards His Highness Great Sun's forehead. His speed was extremely fast, like lightning. At the same time, Ling Xiao's body surged with an extremely powerful and ancient aura of time. Freeze! Ling Xiao roared, and the power of the space-time secret technique exploded mightily. The surrounding time and space seemed to have frozen. Ling Xiao's sudden attack was to kill the great-grandson with a single strike, directly killing him with his sword. The main reason was that Ling Xiao felt uneasy. Especially towards the end, the uneasy feeling in his heart grew stronger. In the end, he decisively chose to strike first to gain the initiative. The immortal culling sword came across the sky and pierced towards His Highness Great Sun's forehead. His Highness Great Sun was shrouded by the vast power of time, and his entire body seemed to have frozen on the spot. However, Ling Xiao suddenly saw His Highness Great Sun's lips curl into an extremely strange smile. Boom! Before the immortal culling sword could pierce his forehead, His Highness Great Sun exploded in the void, turning into a bloody mist. The bloody mist vibrated in the void, and then instantly merged into the Chaos Immortal Bell in the void. The Chaos Immortal Bell shone brightly. It seemed as if a vast emperor's aura had awakened within it. Boundless chaotic light spread out, as if forming a vast chaotic realm that spread in all directions. In an instant, it enveloped Ling Xiao and the Xian Tian Immortal Lord. Rumble! The chaotic realm continued to spread, enveloping the 12 stone pillars, Zhan Qin, and everyone else within it. The dazzling light that shot out from the 12 stone pillars contained an ancient and vast power. It was the aura of the 12 great Tao origins. Originally, it had imprisoned the Chaos Immortal Bell, but now it seemed as if there was no way for it to break out of the chaotic realm. The void distorted, and His Highness Great Sun appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Lei Ling, do you really think that you are capable of killing me? His Highness Great Sun sneered. He was incomparably cold and aloof, as if he did not take Ling Xiao seriously at all. At this moment, his aura was incomparably strong, and his life origin was vast and majestic. He did not look injured at all. Appearing in the chaotic realm, Ling Xiao immediately felt a throbbing in the depths of his heart. It was as if an ant had appeared in the territory of a divine dragon. It was a kind of awe and shock of life. Is it an immortal lord? Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he looked at the void in the distance. Chapter 3001. In the distant void, chaotic mist lingered and dazzling immortal light bloomed. The chaotic celestial bell floated in the air like a mountain, emitting boundless light. It was ancient and mysterious. However, there seemed to be a mysterious figure above the chaotic celestial bell, exuding a mighty extreme emperor's aura. The entire chaotic realm seemed to exist because of the existence of that figure. Although Ling Xiao could not see the figure clearly, he could not help but suspect that it was the legendary celestial emperor. Who else could control the chaotic celestial bell, save His Highness great-grandson, and silently shroud the 12 stone pillars to prevent the 12 great Tao origin energy from seeping in? It shouldn't be the real celestial emperor. Perhaps it's just a clone that he left on His Highness great-grandson's body. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. Clang. At this moment, the profound heaven immortal lord beside Ling Xiao suddenly trembled. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. The profound heaven sword in his hand shone brightly, and a vast extreme emperor's aura filled the air. The profound heaven sword seemed to have completely awakened. The profound heaven immortal lord held the profound heaven sword and pointed at the figure in the void. He did not hide his terrifying killing intent at all. It felt as though the profound heaven immortal lord had a blood feud with that figure. The figure seemed to have noticed the profound heaven immortal lord and exclaimed softly. His eyes instantly pierced through the layers of void and landed on the profound heaven immortal lord. Boom! The majestic aura contained in his eyes was like a mountain, causing the profound heaven immortal lord's clothes to flutter. His aura surged, and a sharp sword intent soared into the sky. The profound heaven immortal lord seemed to have turned into an unsheathed divine sword. Could it be that the profound heaven immortal lord has a grudge against the celestial emperor? Legend has it that the profound heaven immortal lord offended an important figure, which led to the destruction of the profound heaven sect and the suppression of the profound heaven immortal lord. Could it be? Ling Xiao guessed as thoughts ran through his mind. At this moment, everyone's eyes were filled with incomparable terror. They had thought that Ling Xiao would be able to save them after killing His Highness great-grandson. They did not expect such an unforeseen event to happen in the blink of an eye. Especially the figure on top of the primal chaos immortal bell. The aura emitted by the figure made their hearts tremble. Lei Ling, if you surrender without a fight, I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise, don't blame me for making you wish you were dead. His Highness great-grandson's eyes were incomparably cold as he stared at Ling Xiao. This primal chaos realm was indeed formed by the imprint of the immortal emperor. This was also his final trump card, a trump card that could suppress everything. No matter how strong Ling Xiao's force was, it was impossible for him to be a match for His Highness. As far as the Crown Prince was concerned, everything was under his control. Really? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His expression was extremely calm, without a trace of fear. He walked towards His Highness great son with steady footsteps. Death is at hand, and you still won't give up? His Highness great son sneered. The imprint clone of the Celestial Emperor is indeed powerful, but I wonder if it's stronger compared to the imprints of the 12 ancestor gods? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Buzz. His glabella shone brightly, and the deity clan mark appeared instantly. It contained the majestic fate of the deity clan and flew towards the 12 stone pillars. Rumble. After sensing the aura of the deity clan mark, the 12 stone pillars trembled violently. 12 invincible figures emerged from the endless primal chaos light. The 12 figures were incomparably terrifying, ancient, and powerful. They seemed to be able to tear everything apart, causing the primal chaos realm to shake violently. This is the deity clan mark. How could you have the deity clan mark? His Highness great son trembled as he exclaimed in disbelief. He had never thought that Ling Xiao would have the deity clan mark. The deity clan mark contained the fate of the deity clan. It was a supreme treasure that the lord of the deity clan wielded. Legend had it that it had long been lost. The deity clan mark in His Highness great son's hand was merely an imitation. He knew very well what the deity clan mark represented. When he saw the deity clan mark, his heart began to sink. The 12 figures with monstrous aura instantly pounced on the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor. The primal chaos exploded, and the endless void shattered like a mirror. The 12 figures and the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor broke out into an extremely fierce battle. Your Highness, great son, you are the one who deserves to die. You have wasted so much origin energy. If I don't kill you, how can I face the 12 ancestor gods? Ling Xiao shouted coldly. In an instant he charged towards His Highness Great Sunday. Ling Xiao's heart was actually in great pain. The deity clan mark could indeed summon the imprint doppelganger of the 12 ancestor gods. However, those figures were condensed from origin energy and consumed the power of the 12 great Tao origins. Those were originally the fortunes left behind by the 12 ancestor gods. However, in order to deal with the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor, Ling Xiao had no choice but to use the deity clan mark. Therefore, he was incomparably furious. All of this was caused by His Highness Great Sunday Rumble. Ling Xiao and the profound heaven immortal lord struck at the same time. The immortal culling sword and the profound heaven sword bloomed with unparalleled light. A peerless sword intent filled the sky and instantly enveloped His Highness Great Sunday. Damn it! Who the hell are you? The deity clan mark has long been lost and is not in the immortal world. Who the hell are you? His Highness Great Sun roared furiously. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. As soon as the deity clan mark appeared, he began to panic. Without the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor, he was no match for Ling Xiao and the profound heaven immortal lord. Now that he was targeted by Ling Xiao and the profound heaven immortal lord, it became extremely difficult for His Highness Great Sun to escape. Rumble. The battle in the void was incomparably intense. Millions of brilliant immortal lights bloomed. The immortal emperor's figure traversed the heavens and earth. With his strength alone, he fought against the imprint doppelganger of the 12 ancestor gods. Even the chaos immortal bell was ringing. However, although the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor was strong, it was not as strong as the imprint doppelganger of the 12 ancestor gods. Soon, it dimmed and was firmly suppressed. On the other side, His Highness Great Sun was also at a disadvantage. However, he was severely injured by Ling Xiao's immortal culling sword. Lei Ling, get out of my way! His Highness Great Sun roared. He was shocked and furious. He wanted to leave the battlefield and escape. Everything was out of his control. However, Ling Xiao and the profound heaven immortal lord's attacks were extremely sharp and ruthless. His Highness Great Sun had no way to escape. He kept coughing up blood and retreating. It seemed like he was about to be defeated. Boom! In the end, the imprint doppelganger of the immortal emperor in the void was directly torn apart by the 12 ancestor gods. It turned into a dazzling rain of light. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. The immortal culling sword pierced through the layers of the void and pierced towards the glabella of His Highness Great Sunday. His Highness Great Sun's face changed drastically. He felt an extremely strong threat of death. Chapter 3002. Rumble. The immortal culling sword and the profound heavenly sword intertwined in the void, trapping His Highness in the middle and cutting off all his escape routes. Ling Xiao's attack had evolved the slaughter origin of the great immortal culling art. It seemed to have completely awakened the immortal culling sword and unleashed a peerless attack. Many of the defensive immortal weapons in front of His Highness exploded. The immortal culling sword pierced His Highness's arm and, without slowing down, stabbed him between the eyebrows. Bloody light filled the air and terrifying sword chi surged. The slaughter origin instantly poured into His Highness's primordial spirit and sea of consciousness, turning into a slaughter sword that nailed his primordial spirit. Lei Ling, my grandfather won't let you off. His Highness roared madly, filled with resentment and resentment. His body emitted dazzling immortal light. Boom! The profound heavenly sword also came through the air and pierced His Highness's chest. The aura of extermination instantly destroyed his vitality. The Crown Prince's entire body exploded in the void. his body was crushed, his indestructible primordial spirit was shattered, and his soul was completely scattered. Rumble! The surrounding primal chaos realm shattered, and everyone reappeared in the Hall of the Gods. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Streaks of flowing light shot up into the sky, trying to break through the void and escape. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He reached out and caught two resplendent balls of light in his palm. They were the replica of the Divine Clan seal and the Divine Bone in His Highness's body. As for the Chaos Immortal Bell, it had completely disappeared with the destruction of the chaotic realm. Could it be that he's still alive? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with divine light as he thought to himself. Although His Highness had been killed, Ling Zhao found that His Highness's divine bone and immortal root had not shattered. The divine bone had fallen into Ling Zhao's hand, but the immortal root had disappeared. Moreover, although the immortal culling sword had destroyed his primordial spirit, Ling Zhao still felt that something was missing. His Highness's status in the Eternal Immortal Dynasty is not ordinary. He even has the Chaos Immortal Bell and the Immortal Emperor's brand doppelganger. He won't die so easily. Ling Zhao thought to himself. After His Highness died, the shackles on the 12 stone pillars also disappeared. Yun Shi, Zhan Chen, and the others regained their freedom, and their faces all revealed the joy of surviving a calamity. The Cloudstream Saintess looked at Ling Zhao with eyes full of excitement and admiration. She wanted to run towards Ling Zhao, but at this moment, something strange happened. Rumble! The 12 stone pillars trembled violently as primal chaos mist rose. The silhouettes of the 12 ancestor gods hadn't completely dissipated after slaying the imprinted clone of the immortal emperor. The god clan mark on top of Ling Zhao's head trembled slightly. It was enshrouded in dazzling light and formed a strange connection with the chaotic divine bone on Ling Zhao's chest and the figures of the 12 ancestral gods. The silhouettes of the 12 ancestor gods were ancient and mysterious. They were enshrouded in chaotic light. In an instant, they turned into streaks of flowing light and flew toward the chaos divine bone on Ling Zhao's chest. Boom! Ling Zhao's entire body was instantly enveloped by blazing divine light. Around him, chaos rose, and yin and yang separated. All kinds of mysterious phenomena appeared. It was as if many ancient gods and demons had appeared. They were like the stars in the sky. At this moment, they were all worshipping Ling Zhao as if they were worshipping their king. The phenomenon around Ling Zhao was too grand. The silhouettes of the 12 ancestor gods were all formed by the 12 great path origins. At this moment, they surged into Ling Zhao's body, causing his aura to become stronger and stronger. The 12 sky skills' secret skills were also rapidly transforming. Ling Zhao felt that he was wandering in the ocean of the 12 great path origins, and he was devouring the power of the great path origins hungrily. His aura also began to grow stronger and stronger, evolving towards a mysterious and unknown realm. The Son of God. So, Lei Ling is the real Son of God. Looking at the grand phenomenon before him, Zhan Chen's eyes revealed a trace of excitement. He was completely convinced by Ling Zhao. The heaven-defying combat strength that Ling Zhao had displayed, and even the great-grandson had been killed by Ling Zhao. The 12 ancestor gods had sacrificed themselves to help Ling Zhao destroy the imprint clone of the celestial emperor. If such a person was not the Son of God, who else could he be? Brother Lei Ling is the Son of God? Yunshi Saintess also widened her eyes as she exclaimed in surprise and joy. Everyone could see that the 12 ancestor gods contained a vast amount of origin energy. The ultimate creation that the 12 ancestor gods had left behind had all merged into Ling Zhao's body. Although the genius disciples of the 6 major divine sects had complicated expressions and were even filled with envy, they all understood. Being able to obtain the ultimate creation meant that Lei Ling was the Son of God. The prophecy of the great Emperor of Heaven reaching has come true. The Son of God has descended and will lead the 6 major divine sects. This is the chance for the divine tribe to revive. We have witnessed the birth of the Son of God, which means we have witnessed the history of the divine tribe. I, Zhan Chen, pledge my loyalty to the Son of God until my death. Zhan Chen said emotionally. Then, he knelt down on one knee in front of Ling Xiao with a fanatical look in his eyes. I, Yunxi, pledge my loyalty to the Son of God until my death. Yunxi also knelt down on one knee without hesitation and said with a serious expression. The remaining people also hesitated for a moment before following Zhang Chen and kneeling down. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism. I, Wu Hen, pledge my loyalty to the Son of God until my death. I, Bing Exen, pledge my loyalty to the Son of God until my death. I, Lung Feng, pledge my loyalty to the Son of God until my death. With Zhang Chen as the leader, the 11 geniuses of the 6 major divine sects were completely convinced by Ling Xiao and expressed their loyalty to him. According to the prophecy of the great Emperor of Heaven reaching, the Son of God would be the leader of the 6 major divine sects. He would be the hope of the divine tribe's rise and the future leader of the divine tribe. Although they did not expect Ling Xiao to become the Son of God, they would have died in the hands of the great Emperor of Heaven reaching if not for Lei Ling. Therefore, their loyalty now could be said to be wholeheartedly convinced. Everyone, listen to my orders for now. Be on guard and wait for the Son of God to return from his seclusion. During this time, no one is allowed to disturb the Son of God. Kill all trespassers. Zhang Chen ordered in a deep voice. Yes. Yes. Everyone bowed and listened to the order. Then, they rose into the air and surrounded Ling Xiao to protect him. At this moment, no one noticed the Xian Tian Immortal Lord. After killing the great Emperor of Heaven reaching, the Xian Tian Immortal Lord's eyes seemed to have regained some spirit. It was as if there was a sigh and sadness in his eyes. The Xian Tian sword vibrated slightly and let out waves of joy, as if it was happy for its master. The sword intent on the Xian Tian Immortal Lord's body became even purer. It was as if a peerless sword was being nurtured. Chapter 3003. The Eternal Immortal Dynasty. Above a misty mountain, numerous immortal palaces floated in the air, emitting dazzling immortal light. They were ancient and eternal. In the center of the countless immortal palaces, there was a lotus pond, enshrouded in chaotic mist and extremely dazzling. Boom! Suddenly, a lotus bloomed with 9-colored light and blazing flames rose. The lotus bloomed, revealing a 9-colored lotus throne. A figure sat cross-legged on the 9-colored lotus throne, his entire body glowing with immortal light. He seemed somewhat illusory. An immortal root ran through his body, quickly forming his meridians and then condensing into a physical body, gradually becoming real. It was a handsome young man, shrouded in dazzling immortal light. His body was flawless, and he was as handsome as jade, exuding a noble and mysterious aura. He suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 dazzling beams of light shot out from his eyes, piercing through the void and causing the clouds in the sky to tremble violently. Lei Ling, I will remember you. A cold and murderous voice sounded. That young man was His Highness' great-grandson. He was not dead, or rather, he was not completely dead. He had been reborn in a very strange way. At that moment, the void above His Highness' great-grandson's head seemed to explode, and a dazzling beam of light fell, enveloping him. Sensing the vast and mighty aura above him, His Highness' great-grandson's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with excitement. He knelt down respectfully. Greetings, Grandpa Huang. After this tribulation, you will be considered to have completed your cultivation. The immortal tribe is not weaker than anyone else. Cultivate well in seclusion. The Eternal Emperor Road is about to open. That will be your true battlefield. A dignified and old voice sounded. His Highness' great-grandson said seriously. Dazzling immortal light fell from the void, enveloping His Highness' great-grandson, and then he disappeared from the lotus pond. Qin Yun. A majestic voice sounded. In the distance, a light flashed, and a young man with rosy lips and white teeth appeared. He was wearing a white Taoist robe, and his eyes were clear and bright. He had a faint smile on his face. He cupped his hands elegantly. Qin Yun greets your majesty. Go to the ancestral mountain. That Lei Ling, if you can capture him alive, Bring him back. If you can't, let him go. The majestic voice spoke slowly. Captured alive? If we can't capture him alive, why not kill him? Qin Yun asked in surprise. No need. He might still be useful in the immortal demon gathering. If we can't capture him alive, just let him go. Understood. Qin Yun bowed and replied. Then he took a step forward. Ripples appeared in the void, and his figure slowly disappeared. Within the Hall of Gods. Of the 2 balls of light that Ling Xiao had obtained from His Highness great-grandson, one was a replica of the God Clan mark, and the other was His Highness great-grandson's God bone. The replica sacred clan mark was integrated into Ling Xiao's sacred clan mark. The sacred bone of His Highness was also integrated into Ling Xiao's chaotic sacred bone. The God race mark shone brightly as Ling Xiao obtained some memory fragments from the chaos God bone. He understood His Highness great-grandson's origins. As it turned out, the Crown Prince was the grandson of the immortal Emperor, the son of the eternal celestial dynasty's Crown Prince. However, His Highness great-grandson's mother was a member of the God Clan. 10,000 years ago, the God Clan produced a stunning woman. By chance, she awakened the bloodline of the God Clan and was hailed as the hope of the God Clan. Goddess Laniying's name shook the entire immortal world. The 6 great divine sects had invested a large amount of resources to nurture Goddess Laniying. Goddess Laniying did not disappoint. Her strength grew stronger and stronger. Not only did she defeat the geniuses of the 6 great divine sects, but she also overshadowed the geniuses of the 9 great immortal sects. Just when the 6 great divine sects thought that Goddess Laniying would become the hope of the God Clan, Goddess Laniying fell in love with the eternal celestial dynasty's Crown Prince. She even betrayed the 6 great divine sects for the sake of the Crown Prince, causing the 6 great divine sects to suffer great losses. The reason why Ling Xiao had never heard of Goddess Laniying's name was because Goddess Laniying had become a taboo in the God Clan. Very few people mentioned her. Ling Xiao did not expect His Highness great-grandson to have such a background. No wonder he could possess both God Bone and Immortal Root. The replica of the God Clan's seal should have been left behind by Goddess Laniying. It allowed His Highness great-grandson to know many secrets of the Hall of Gods. That was how he was able to enter the Hall of Gods. His Highness great-grandson's luck is extraordinary. He is the son of Goddess Laniying. If not for me, he could have become the son of God. Ling Xiao thought to himself. However, Ling Xiao had killed His Highness great-grandson. All the fortunes in the Hall of Gods were left to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao also realized that the 12 stone pillars he had encountered previously were projections of the 12 stone pillars here. The origin energy contained within them was very weak. The 12 stone pillars contained the origin energy left behind by the 12 ancestral gods. Although much of it had been used up, the remaining origin energy was enough for Ling Xiao to make a deeper breakthrough in his 12 sky techniques. Rumble. Vast origin energy surged within Ling Xiao's body. Finally, it all gathered in the chaotic divine bone in his chest. The chaotic divine bone was like a chaotic world. When the 12 great Tao origins surged into it, it made it seem like a world was opening up in the chaos. Life was evolving, creating an incomparably mysterious scene. The 12 sky techniques circulated within Ling Xiao's body, emitting various mysterious fluctuations of laws. Chaos, fate, karma, reincarnation. The 12 great Taos were like the foundation of the world, the origin of chaos. They were the most ancient and mysterious great Tao powers. It made Ling Xiao feel like he had seen the ultimate secret of this world in the chaos. In the chaos, a world opened up and life was born. Fate evolved, controlling the life and death of all life and connecting to the origin of all life. Karma was ethereal, forming various fortuitous encounters and the love and hatred of all life. Reincarnation went back and forth, exploring the truth of all life. It was the mystery of life and death. The 12 great Tao origins merged into Ling Xiao's body and the 12 sky techniques. It made Ling Xiao feel like he had touched upon the truth of this world. As if it had caused a qualitative change, Ling Zhao's aura began to skyrocket as the 12 heaven cultivation secret techniques evolved towards the origin source secret techniques. He comprehended the great Tao principles, experienced the mystery of the world, and saw the truth of life and death. In the end, his cultivation began to slowly break through. Although Ling Zhao had not stayed in the immortal venerable realm for long, his accumulation was extremely strong. The supreme fortune in the Hall of Gods allowed Ling Zhao to obtain a vast foundation. He comprehended the 12 great Tao origins and his cultivation began to break through to the immortal monarch realm. In other words, he was breaking through to the immortal monarch realm. Chapter 3004. The Imperial Lord Realm was an extremely strange realm. A heavenly venerable expert comprehended the great Tao law to perfection. After accumulation and enlightenment, the great Tao law would undergo a qualitative change and transform into the great Tao origin energy. The great Tao origin energy was the ultimate power. Just like the great Tao of flames, if the great Tao of flames evolved into the great Tao of flames, one could completely control the great Tao of flames. One could burn and create everything. Breaking through from the heavenly venerable realm to the Imperial Lord realm seemed to be only a step away, but the difference was like heaven and earth. An Imperial Lord realm expert was not only powerful in terms of strength, but also in terms of comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth and understanding of the truth of all things. An Imperial Lord realm expert could be said to be able to crush a heavenly venerable expert in all aspects. Especially an Imperial Lord realm expert who had condensed the body of origin energy, it could be said that his body was immortal and his primordial spirit was indestructible. Even if he died, his body could exist for countless years. Most importantly, after breaking through to the Imperial Lord realm, although there was still a long way to go to the legendary Great Emperor realm, there was a glimmer of hope. In theory, every Imperial Lord realm expert had a chance to become an emperor. However, whether or not they could take that last step depended on their luck and opportunity. No matter where it was in the myriad worlds, an Imperial Emperor expert could be considered an overlord-level figure. Even in the immortal world, experts who could break through to the immortal realm were peerless geniuses that were 1 in 10,000. Now, Ling Zhao was about to take that step. After comprehending a great Tao origin, he could break through to the Imperial Lord realm. However, Ling Zhao was not satisfied with this. He hoped to have a deeper accumulation and foundation. This way, his path would be wider after breaking through to the Imperial Lord realm, and he would have a greater chance of becoming an emperor. Previously, the Imperial Lord of Kunwu Mountain had asked him to enter the immortal world to find an opportunity to break through to the Imperial Lord realm. Now, Ling Zhao had received the gift of the 12 ancestor gods and obtained the greatest fortune of the Hall of Gods. If he could comprehend any of the 12 great Tao origins left behind by the 12 ancestor gods to perfection and break through to the Imperial Lord realm, he would be an extremely amazing Supreme Imperial Lord. These great Tao origins were all left behind by the 12 ancestor gods. Now, they were all gathered in Ling Zhao's body. Most importantly, Ling Zhao had the 12 sky skills. These were also the 12 origin skills. Ling Zhao had already cultivated them to the perfection stage. Currently, the 12 great Taos had evolved and transformed into the origin force, which became the foundation of Ling Zhao's Tao attainment. Rumble. Within the Hall of Gods, Ling Zhao sat cross-legged in the air. His indestructible origin spirit illuminated the heavens, and his entire being radiated with an extremely resplendent light. The 12 sky arts seemed to have come alive in his body, forming 12 dragon-shaped meridians. They roared and intertwined, causing Ling Zhao's aura to grow stronger and stronger. Rumble. Inside Ling Zhao's body, it was as if the heavens and earth were being split apart. Endless lightning burst forth, blazing and dazzling to the extreme. As if some kind of shackle had been broken, Ling Zhao's aura instantly surpassed that of a heavenly venerate and ascended to a mysterious realm. Ling Zhao's cultivation had broken through the limit of the heavenly venerate realm and broke through to the imperial emperor realm. Endless divine light surged and lightning bloomed. Above Ling Xiao's head, dark clouds swirled and sinister winds howled. Lightning intertwined like divine chains of order, enveloping him directly. Those lightning bolts were all formed by the great Tao laws and contained a power fluctuation that could destroy everything. In particular, those strange figures formed by the lightning emitted an aura that made one's heart tremble. This was the Imperial Emperor Tribulation. Ling Xiao had just broken through to the Imperial Emperor realm when the Imperial Emperor Tribulation descended in a mighty manner. This time, the Imperial Emperor Tribulation seemed to be more intense than ever. It was like an apocalyptic calamity that wanted to completely erase Ling Xiao. The lightning twisted and intertwined, causing the void to tremble violently. The aura was terrifying to the extreme. Rumble. In the next moment, the lightning tribulation that had been accumulating for a long time was like a mountain. Billions of destructive light intertwined and pressed down on Ling Xiao like a tsunami. What a terrifying immortal emperor tribulation! Zhan Chen, Yun Shi, and the others trembled. Their eyes were filled with disbelief as they exclaimed. When they felt the destructive aura, they all retreated one after another. Their blood and qi were in turmoil, like a small boat in the middle of a vast ocean. Their eyes were filled with incomparable worry. Could Ling Xiao really withstand such a terrifying immortal emperor tribulation? Buzz. Just as the lightning that filled the sky fell, Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly opened. Two blazing light beams instantly pierced through the layers of void and went against the current. Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably cold. Facing the lightning that filled the sky, he punched out in the air. That punch was extremely majestic. It was like a rising sun. Divine light was boundless and auspicious steam rose from it. The lightning that filled the sky trembled violently. Then, it was blown apart by Ling Xiao's punch as if it was crushing dry weeds. The lightning was dazzling and spread in all directions like a whistling storm. Rumble. Ling Xiao opened his mouth. Instantly, all the lightning in the surroundings was swallowed by Ling Xiao like a whale swallowing the sea. Billions of lightning intertwined around Ling Xiao's body. Countless laws of the great Tao rose, containing a terrifying destructive power. However, it was unable to cause any damage to his physical body. All the lightning that filled the sky was swept away as if it had never appeared at all. It passed the immortal emperor tribulation just like that? Zhan Chen muttered to himself. He was completely stunned. One punch, one swallow. The immortal emperor tribulation was directly swallowed by Ling Xiao into his stomach and refined without a trace. Zhan Chen had never heard of such a powerful and domineering way of passing the tribulation. This is our God's child. He's too domineering. Someone said slowly. His eyes were filled with incomparable fanaticism and excitement. Everyone thought that the immortal emperor tribulation was a great tribulation with a slim chance of survival. However, it was completely ineffective for Ling Xiao. Such an easy way of passing the tribulation made everyone feel like they were dreaming. However, the scene in front of them told them that Ling Xiao had really passed the immortal emperor tribulation and had become a genuine immortal emperor expert. Is this the immortal emperor realm? Ling Xiao muttered to himself softly. His eyes were incomparably sharp and dazzling. He clenched his fist. Immediately, billions of lightning bolts burst out, crossing the heaven and earth and penetrating everything. It was incomparably vast. Ling Xiao felt that his entire body was filled with endless power. He could tear the heaven and earth apart and shatter the universe with a wave of his hand. This world was becoming more and more real and clear. P.S. I have something to do at the last minute. I only have one update today. Everyone, rest early. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.